The stone beneath your sandals is cool and smooth, worn down by the generations of feet that have walked this same path before you. It is the hour when the city of Alexandria finally begins to quiet. The cacophony of the great markets and the shouting of the harbour merchants fading into a low, distant hum that blends with the rhythm of the sea. But here, at the base of the great Pharos, the silence is heavy, pressing against your ears like the water itself. You stand for a moment at the bottom of the spiral, your hand resting on the rough limestone of the central pillar. The air here is damp, carrying the eternal scent of salt and brine, mixed with the thick, cloying smell of animal fat and resin that drips from the great beacon far above. It is a smell that has seeped into your skin, into your tunic, into the very pores of your existence. You do not mind it. It is the smell of duty. It is the smell of the light. You adjust the strap of the leather satchel across your shoulder. It is heavy, filled with the tools of your trade, wicks of twisted linen, a small pot of polishing sand for the bronze mirrors, and a flask of water for your own thirst. Tonight, the climb feels longer than usual. Perhaps it is the chill in the air, a cold front moving in from the north, across the great green sea. You take a breath, tasting the salt, and begin the ascent. 1 step, 2 steps. The movement is automatic, a muscle memory ingrained in your calves and thighs. You do not need to look at your feet. You know the height of each riser, the subtle curve of the wall, the places where the stone has chipped away over the decades. The Pharos is not merely a building, it is a mountain shaped by human hands, a hollow mountain of white stone that sings when the wind blows hard. Tonight, the wind is a low whistle, spiralling down the shaft of the staircase, cooling the sweat that already begins to bead on your forehead. You are alone in the belly of the light. There are others, of course, the men who haul the fuel on the great ramps below, the soldiers guarding the causeway, but up here in the throat of the tower, there is only you and the stone. The darkness is not complete. Shafts of moonlight pierce through the narrow slit windows cut into the thick outer walls, painting elongated rectangles of pale silver across the steps. You pass through them, moving from shadow to light and back to shadow, a rhythmic flickering that matches the beating of your heart. You pause at the first landing, not because you are tired, but because it is the custom of the keepers to listen. You listen to the structure. You hear the groan of the massive block settling as the temperature drops, a deep geological sound that vibrates through the soles of your sandals. You hear the wind buffeting the northern face, a relentless pressure that has tested these walls for years. It is stable, it is strong, you continue. The spiral tightens slightly as you ascend the square base of the tower. The air grows cooler, stripped of the warmth of the earth below. Your hand trails along the wall, feeling the dampness of the sea mist that clings to the stone. It is a wet, slick texture, like the skin of a dormant leviathan. Your mind drifts as you climb, untethered from the worries of the ground. Down there, in the sprawling city, there are debts to be paid, arguments to be settled, the noise of politics and trade. Up here, everything is simplified. There is only the up and the down, the dark and the light. You think of the ships out there in the black void of the Mediterranean. To them, you're not a man. You're a star. You're a fixed point in a shifting, chaotic universe. They do not know your name, nor do they care about the ache in your lower back or the calluses on your palms. They care only that the fire burns. It is a strange intimacy to be the guardian of thousands of lives who will never see your face. The stairs seem to go on forever. It is a meditation. Step, breathe, step, breathe. The leather strap digs slightly into your shoulder, a grounding sensation. You reach the section where the ramps end and the spiral stairs purely take over, the section leading up to the octagonal middle tier. Here, the wind is louder. It no longer whistles. It moans. You can feel the vibration of the great fire burning far above you, a low, thrumming roar that travels down the masonry. It is the heartbeat of Alexandria. You imagine the flames dancing in the great brazier, hungry and wild, tamed only by the stone and the bronze and the vigilance of men like you. You stop at a window, a narrow aperture meant for ventilation rather than viewing, but you lean close to it anyway. The stone frame is cold against your cheek. You look out. Below you, the Heptastadion Causeway is a thin, dark line connecting the island of Pharos to the mainland, dotted with the tiny flickering torches of the Night Watch. Beyond that, the great harbour is a pool of ink, the masts of sleeping ships rising like a leafless forest. And beyond that, the open sea. It is vast and indifferent. The horizon is lost in the darkness. The boundary between water and sky erased. Only the rhythmic white foam of the breakers hitting the rocks far below gives any sense of the world's edge. The sound of the waves is different up here. Less of a crash, more of a continuous hushing sigh. It is the sound of the earth sleeping. You turn back to the stairs. The climb continues. Your thighs burn with a familiar dull heat. This is the price of altitude. You count the steps to keep your mind focused. 110, 111. The air is thinning. Or perhaps it is just the smoke beginning to drift down from the lantern room. It tastes of wood smoke and charred resin, a dry, acrid flavour that coats the back of your throat. You take a sip from your flask, the water lukewarm and metallic, but it soothes the dryness. As you enter the octagonal section, the architecture changes. The stairs become narrower, the walls closer. You are rising above the level of the city's highest temples now. You are closer to the realm of the gods than the realm of men. The wind howls freely here, whistling through the gaps in the masonry, creating a mournful, flute-like tone. You wrap your cloak tighter around yourself. The cold is biting now, carrying the moisture of the clouds. You can feel the immense weight of the structure around you. Tons of limestone and granite suspended in the sky, a testament to the arrogance and genius of the architects. But architects do not climb these stairs every night. Architects do not trim the charred wicks while the wind tries to blow them out. That belongs to you. You pass the chamber where the fuel is stored for the secondary shift. Great clay jars sealed with wax sitting in the shadows like silent sentinels. They are filled with oil and naphtha, volatile and heavy. You check the seals as you pass, running your hand over the cool clay. Intact. Good. The logistics of the light are a miracle in themselves, the endless chain of labour required to haul this fuel up from the harbour, load by load, day after day, year after year. You are but the final link in this chain, the spark that transforms the labour into light. The sound of the fire is distinct now. It is no longer a vibration but a physical presence, a crackling, snapping roar. You can hear the draft sucking the air up the central shaft to feed the flames. The heat begins to bleed through the stone from above, a subtle warmth that combats the chill of the wind. You are nearing the summit, the lantern room, the crown of the sea. Your breathing is heavy, measured. You do not rush. To rush is to invite mistakes, and there is no room for mistakes at this height. You reach the final landing. A heavy bronze door stands before you, green with verdigris and damp with condensation. It protects the stairwell from the intensity of the elements above. You pause. You wipe the sweat from your brow with the sleeve of your tunic. You adjust your satchel. You are about to step into the sun. You grip the iron ring of the door handle. It is cold and slick. You pull. The door groans on its hinges, a sound of heavy metal grinding against metal, and then the roar. The sound of the wind and the fire hits you simultaneously. It is a wall of noise. You step through onto the gallery of the lantern room. The heat is sudden and intense, radiating from the colossal basket of iron and bronze, suspended in the centre of the vast pillared chamber. The fire is blindingly bright, a churning ball of orange and yellow, and terrifying white at its core. It dances and leaps, consuming the fuel with a ravenous hunger. For a moment you must shield your eyes, waiting for your vision to adjust to the brilliance after the long darkness of the stairwell. Above the fire, the great mirror of polished bronze catches the light. It is a masterpiece of optics, curved and angled to capture every photon of energy and hurl it outwards across the miles of ocean. The mirror glows like a second moon, beaming a solid shaft of light into the dark. You can see the dust motes dancing in the beam, swirling in the turbulent air. The smell here is overpowering: hot metal, burning fat, smoke, and the ozone scent of the storm that is brewing far out at sea. You close the door behind you, sealing the quiet darkness of the stairs away. You are now in the domain of the light. You walk around the perimeter of the fire basket, keeping a safe distance. The heat dries the sweat on your skin instantly. Your shadow stretches long and thin against the columns of the gallery, dancing wildly with the flickering of the flames. You check the fuel feed. The flow of oil is steady, a dark, viscous stream pouring into the heart of the inferno. You check the wicks. Some are burning unevenly, creating too much smoke. This is your task. You take a long iron rod from the rack on the wall. You approach the fire. The heat presses against you like a physical hand, pushing you back. You squint against the glare. With practiced precision, you reach into the flames with the rod, adjusting the burning bundles, shifting the logs of resin-soaked wood. Sparks fly upward, swirling into the opening of the roof, joining the stars. You tap the wick, knocking off a clump of carbonized ash. The flame jumps, burning cleaner, brighter. You nod to yourself, satisfied. You move to the mirror. The wind whips through the open arches of the gallery, tugging at your clothes, threatening to pull you off balance. You're 300 cubits in the air. The world below is gone. There is only the wind and the fire. You take a rag from your satchel and dip it into the pot of fine sand and oil. You must clean the bronze. The smoke leaves a film, a subtle haze that dims the light. You cannot allow that. Every fraction of clarity matters. A ship captain straining his eyes against the black horizon needs every lumen you can give him. You begin to polish the back of the great mirror, avoiding the heat of the focus point. The motion is rhythmic. Rub, wipe, polish, rub, wipe, polish. The metal sings under your hand, a high-pitched resonance. You work your way around the curvature, your muscles aching, your eyes watering from the smoke. But there is a peace in this work. It is simple. It is necessary. You are the caretaker of the sun at midnight. You stop to look out through the columns. The beam of light cuts a path through the night, a solid road of illumination over the churning black water. Far out, perhaps 30 miles away, you imagine you can see the tiny answering spark of a ship's lantern. A greeting. A thank you. Or perhaps it is just a trick of the eye. A reflection of a star on a wave. It does not matter. You know they are there. You know they are watching. The night stretches on. You tend the fire. You polish the bronze. You drink your water. You sit on a stone bench in the lee of the wind, watching the flames devour the fuel. Time moves differently here. It is measured in the consumption of oil, in the slow rotation of the stars above the open roof. The constellation of the hunter slowly marches across the slice of sky visible between the columns. You are a companion to the stars, observing their silent vigil. The fire crackles, a loud pop as a pocket of sap in the wood explodes. You do not flinch. You watch the sparks drift out over the railing, falling, falling, falling until they are extinguished by the vast damp air of the sea. You wonder what it would be like to fall like that, to let go, but you are anchored by the stone and the duty. The gravity of the tower holds you fast. Your eyelids feel heavy, but you cannot sleep. The keeper does not sleep. The keeper watches. You stand up and stretch, your joints popping. You walk to the edge of the gallery, grasping the cold stone railing. The wind is stronger now. A storm is indeed coming. You can smell the rain approaching, a fresh, clean scent cutting through the oily smoke. You can see the lightning flashing subtly on the horizon, illuminating the towering clouds that look like mountains of slate. The sea below is becoming rougher, the white caps visible even in the darkness. The waves are hammering the base of the tower, a rhythmic booming that you feel in your feet even at this height. Thud, thud, thud. The lighthouse stands firm. It has weathered 1,000 storms. It will weather this one. You turn back to the light. It seems to burn brighter against the encroaching storm, a defiant gold against the blue-black of the tempest. You add more fuel. You adjust the flow. You are the stoker of the engine that drives the safety of the world. The warmth of the fire is a comfort against the rising gale. You settle back onto the bench, wrapping your cloak tight. You listen to the wind howl around the stone, a lonely, ancient song. You are the only human being in the sky. You are the lighthouse keeper of Alexandria, and the night is long, but the light holds. You close your eyes for just a second, listening to the roar. The sound of the flame is like the sound of a waterfall, continuous and powerful. It washes over you. You think of your bed in the small room at the base of the tower, the wool blanket, the silence. Morning will come, the sun will rise from the east, rendering your great fire pale and useless. The relief crew will climb the stairs, their fresh legs carrying them up to relieve you. You will descend, you will eat bread and olives, you will sleep, but not yet. Now there is only the fire, now there is only the duty. Now there is only the climb you have finished and the vigil you must keep. The damp air from the approaching rain begins to mist over the gallery. Droplets hiss as they hit the hot metal of the fire basket. You stand again. The bronze mirror needs wiping. The condensation will blur the beam. You take up your rag. You begin the circle again. Rub, wipe, polish, or... The eternal circle, the mundane, holy work of keeping the dark at bay. You focus on the grain of the metal, the swirl of the polishing sand. This is your world. This is your moment. You're here. You're present. And the light burns on. The first drops of rain are cold and sharp, stinging your face like windblown sand. They hiss violently against the iron of the great fire basket, tiny explosions of steam that vanish instantly into the draft. The storm has arrived sooner than you expected, sweeping in from the northwest with a sudden, brooding violence. The sky, which moments ago held the faint dusting of stars, is now a solid, heaving blanket of charcoal clouds. The beam from the mirror now has something to bite into. Instead of disappearing into the void, it illuminates the driving rain, turning the deluge into a tunnel of shimmering, chaotic silver. It is beautiful in a way that makes your chest ache, a violent, thrashing beauty that speaks of the raw power of the world. You step back into the shelter of the windward columns, pulling your hood deeper over your brow. The wind is no longer just a moan, it is a scream, tearing around the octagonal corners of the tower, seeking any crevice to enter. The flame dances wildly, buffeted by the downdrafts that swirl into the open gallery. It roars in protest, casting long, frantic shadows that leap and twist across the stone floor like trapped spirits. You must be careful now. If the wind blows too hard, it can drive the flames back against the bronze mirror, scorching the metal, or worse, blow sparks onto the stockpile of oiled wood stacked near the entrance. You move to the leeward side, your movements deliberate and grounded. You cannot afford to slip on the wet stone. You pick up a heavy canvas tarp, weighted at the corners with lead, and drag it over the woodpile. The canvas snaps and cracks in the wind, fighting you, alive with the energy of the storm. You wrestle it down, tucking the edges under the heavy iron grate. Your hands are cold, the knuckles stiff, but the work warms you. It is a battle between you and the elements. A small private war fought 300 cubits above the earth. The noise is deafening. The thunder cracks right overhead, a sound like the sky splitting open, followed by a rumble that shakes the very fillings in your teeth. For a second, the lightning turns the night into blinding day, bleaching the colour from everything, the stone, the sea, your own hands. In that flash you see the whitecaps of the harbour far below, a churning cauldron of foam. The ships are tossing at their moorings, tiny toys in a bathtub. You hope their anchors hold. You hope the watchmen on the decks are strapped in. You return to the fire. It needs more oil. The wind is consuming the fuel faster than usual, fanning the combustion to a fever pitch. You lift the heavy amphora, the ceramic slick with rain and oil. It takes all your strength to steady it as you pour the thick black liquid into the feed channel. The fire gulps it down, flaring up with a deep throaty whoosh. The heat pushes back the cold rain for a moment, a bubble of dryness in the soaking night. You wipe the rain from your eyes. You are soaked through, your tunic clinging to your skin, heavy and cold. But you do not shiver. There is no time to shiver. You check the mirror again. The wind is driving the rain into the gallery, splashing against the precious bronze. You curse softly under your breath. If the bronze cools too unevenly, it could warp, or worse, crack. You grab a fresh dry cloth from your waterproof satchel, thank the gods you wrapped it in oilskin, and begin to wipe the surface again. You work frantically, chasing the droplets. The metal is hot to the touch, sizzling where the water hits it. You're a nurse tending to a feverish giant. You soothe it, you clean it, you protect it. The beam cuts through the rain, a lighthouse sword slashing the darkness. You wonder if any ships are out there in this madness. If they are, this light is their only hope. Without it, the jagged rocks of the Pharos Island would be invisible until the keel shattered against them. You feel a sudden fierce protectiveness over that beam of light. It is fragile despite its size. It is a defiant no shouted into the face of the storm. You are the voice of that no. An hour passes, or perhaps two. It is hard to tell in the storm. Time loses its linear quality and becomes a cycle of tasks. Shield the fire, wipe the mirror, check the oil, brace against the wind. Your body falls into a rhythm of endurance. You find a strange comfort in the repetition. The cold is just a sensation. The wet is just a state of being. You are the stone, you are the bronze, you endure. Eventually, the fury of the squall begins to lessen. The thunder rolls away to the south, grumbling like a retreating beast. The rain lightens from a deluge to a steady drumming shower. The wind drops a few octaves, returning to a manageable howl. You take a moment to lean against the central pillar, your chest heaving. You're exhausted. Your arms feel like lead. But the fire is still burning. The light is still shining. You have won this round. You take a drink of water, your hand shaking slightly. It tastes sweet, the best water you have ever drunk. You look out at the horizon. The storm clouds are breaking apart, revealing patches of deep indigo sky. The moon, now low in the west, peeks through a rift, casting a pale, watery light on the heaving sea. The waves are still massive, rolling in with the momentum of the storm, but the chaotic violence has passed. The rhythm of the ocean returns, a slow, heavy breathing. You walk to the edge of the gallery and look down. The city is still there. A few lights are flickering back on in the harbour district. Life persists. You feel a sudden, profound sense of separation. Down there, people huddled in their beds, listening to the thunder, afraid. Up here, you stood in the centre of the thunder and kept the fire burning. You feel a quiet pride, a solidity in your gut that has nothing to do with the bread you ate hours ago. The night is turning, you can feel it in the air. The temperature drops to its lowest point, the wolf hour before the dawn. This is the hardest time. The adrenaline of the storm has faded, leaving a hollow ache in your bones. The desire to sleep is a physical weight, pulling at your eyelids, dragging your shoulders down. You slap your cheeks, the stinging pain sharp and grounding. Wake up, not yet. You begin the final tasks of the night. You check the oil reserves. The amphorae are nearly empty. The consumption was high tonight. You will have to mark the slate for the logistics crew. They will need to bring up extra fuel tomorrow. You clean the soot from the base of the mirror stand. You sweep the scattered ash from the floor, pushing it through the drainage scuppers where it falls into the void. A clean gallery is a safe gallery. Slowly, imperceptibly, the black sky to the east begins to dilute. It turns a deep bruised purple, then a cold steely grey. The stars begin to fade one by one, retreating before the coming sun. The beam of the lighthouse loses its contrast, becoming less of a solid bar and more of a ghostly suggestion in the mist. The fire seems to dim, though you have not reduced the fuel. The sun is the great rival, the jealous god that tolerates no other light. You watch the sunrise. It is not a glorious burst of gold today, but a sullen red smear behind the lingering storm clouds. But it is light. It is the day. The world is revealing itself again. The grey water, the white stone of the breakwater, the brown hulls of the ships. The colours return. The mystery of the night evaporates. You hear the heavy clank of the bronze door below, footsteps on the metal stairs. The relief shift. It is Milo and Hector. You hear their voices. Muffled by the stone, complaining about the cold, about the climb. You smile. It is a human sound. You're not the only person in the world anymore. The door creaks open. Milo steps onto the gallery, looking fresh and rested, his tunic dry and clean. He stops when he sees you. He sees your soaked clothes, your soot-stained face, the dark circles under your eyes. He sees the pile of empty amphorae. He looks at the wet floor, the battered tarp. He nods, a small, respectful nod. He knows what the night was. He knows what you did. "Rough night?" he asks, his V's loud in the sudden quiet. "The wind was hungry," you reply. Your voice is raspy, unused for hours. You hand him the iron rod, the transfer of power, the transfer of the burden. He takes it. "Go down," he says. "The soup is hot in the mess hall." You nod. You take one last look at the fire. It is his fire now. You turn and walk to the door. The descent is easier on the lungs, but harder on the knees. Your legs feel shaky, tremulous. You hold the rail. You go down the spiral, passing through the layers of the tower, the octagon, the square, the ramps, down into the earth, down into the heavy, still air of the ground. When you finally step out onto the causeway, the morning air is cool and smells of wet earth and fish. The seagulls are crying overhead, diving for scraps in the harbour. The city is waking up, carts are rumbling, men are shouting. It is noisy, it is chaotic, it is bright. You walk towards the barracks. You are just a man in a dirty tunic, walking slowly. No one looks at you. No one knows that you wrestled the storm and kept the star alive, and that is fine. You do not need their praise. You need sleep. You enter your room. It is small, a stone cell with a narrow cot. It smells of wool and old lavender. It is the most beautiful place in the world. You strip off your wet tunic, the fabric heavy and cold as it peels away from your skin. You wash your face in the basin of water, watching the soot swirl away. You dry yourself with a rough towel. The friction feels good. You lie down. The mattress is straw, lumpy and firm. You pull the thick wool blanket up to your chin. Your body sinks into the bed, the tension draining out of your muscles like water from a cracked jar. Your feet throb, a dull, rhythmic pulse. You close your eyes. Behind your eyelids, you still see the fire. You still hear the roar of the wind, but it is distant now. It is a memory. You're safe. You are warm. The stone walls of the Pharos are thick and strong around you. The light is tending itself now, or rather, Milo is tending it. You have done your part. The circle is complete. You take a deep breath. In, out. The sound of your own breathing is loud in the quiet room. It slows down. The world fades. The darkness takes you, but this time it is a gentle darkness, a soft velvet darkness. No wind, no rain, just peace. You drift, you float, you sleep. You do not dream. Your sleep is a void, a black and silent ocean where you float weightless, far beneath the reach of any storm. There is no fire here, no wind, no demanding bronze mirror. There is only the deep, restorative nothingness. It is the sleep of the just, the sleep of a body that has spent every ounce of its fuel and now rests in the cool ash of exhaustion. When you wake, it is not gradually. You surface suddenly, as if pulled up by a rope. The light in your room has changed. The sliver of sun that cuts through the high, barred window has moved across the stone floor, shifting from the sharp angle of morning to the lazy, dusty slant of late afternoon. The air in the room is warmer now, heavy with the stillness of the day. You lie there for a moment, not moving. You catalogue your body. Your calves are tight, the muscles bunched and sore from the endless stairs. Your shoulders ache with a dull, throbbing reminder of the heavy amphorae. Your hands, resting on the wool blanket, feel stiff, the skin dry and papery from the heat and the polishing sand. You flex your fingers slowly. They work. They are ready. You sit up. The straw mattress rustles beneath you. You swing your legs over the edge of the cot and place your feet on the stone floor. The coolness of the flagstones travels up your legs, waking you fully. You stand and stretch, your spine cracking in a satisfying sequence of pops. You are hungry, a deep, hollow hunger that gnaws at your stomach. You dress in a fresh tunic, the linen rough and clean against your skin. You tie your sandals, the leather straps familiar and worn. You splash water on your face from the basin, scrubbing away the last of the sleep. You run a comb through your hair, untangling the knots left by the wind. You look at your reflection in the small polished metal disc hanging on the wall. Your eyes are clear, the fatigue is gone, replaced by a quiet alertness. You are reset. You leave your room and walk down the corridor of the keeper's quarters. The stone walls here are thick, muting the sounds of the outside world. You pass the open doors of other cells, some are empty, others hold sleeping forms, men wrapped in blankets, taking their rest before their own watches. It is a silent brotherhood, a rotation of sleep and wakefulness that keeps the wheel turning. You enter the mess hall. It is a long, low-ceilinged room with sturdy wooden tables and benches. The smell of food hits you immediately. Lentil stew, heavy with garlic and cumin and fresh bread. It is a simple smell, earthy and grounding. A few other keepers are eating, talking in low voices. They nod as you enter. Acknowledgement. You take a wooden bowl and fill it from the large cauldron hanging over the hearth. The stew is thick and hot. You grab a round loaf of bread, the crust hard and dusted with flour. You sit at a table near the window. You break the bread, the crust cracking loudly, and dip it into the stew. The first bite is heaven. The warmth spreads through your chest, chasing away the lingering memory of the cold rain. You eat slowly, savouring the texture of the lentils, the bite of the garlic. You drink from a clay mug of watered wine, the tartness cutting through the richness of the food. Through the window you can see the base of the tower rising up, a wall of white stone that blocks out half the sky. Even from here you can feel its presence. It is always there, looming, waiting. You watch the shadows lengthen in the courtyard. The sun is beginning its descent. The day is dying. Your time is approaching. You finish your meal and wipe the bowl clean with the last piece of bread. You stand and carry your dishes to the washing tub. You leave the mess hall and step out into the courtyard. The air is cooling again. The sea breeze is picking up, ruffling the leaves of the palm trees planted along the wall. You walk towards the workshops at the base of the tower. This is the heart of the operation during the day, the place where the preparations are made. The workshop smells of sawdust, hot oil and molten lead. Men are working everywhere. Coopers are repairing barrels, hammering iron hoops into place with rhythmic clangs. Labourers are rolling great casks of oil up the gentle slope of the ramp, their muscles straining, sweat glistening on their backs. You walk past the fuel stores. The supply has been replenished. The rows of clay jars stand ready, a silent army of potential light. You find the master of the wicks in a corner, surrounded by piles of raw flax and linen. He is an old man, blind in one eye, his hands twisted with arthritis but still nimble. He's twisting long strands of fibre together, creating the thick, rope-like wicks that feed the great fire. "Good evening, father," you say. He looks up, squinting with his good eye. "Ah, the storm rider. How was the burn last night?" "Hungry," you say. "The wind ate the oil fast. The wicks held, though." He nods, pleased. "I used a tighter twist on that batch. Egyptian flax, good strong fibre. Tonight's batch is from Cyprus, softer, might burn faster. Watch it." "I will," you promise. You take a bundle of the new wicks, feeling the texture. He is right. They are softer, more pliable. You tuck them into your satchel. This is the knowledge that saves you. The small details, the texture of a wick, the origin of the flax. You move on to the smithy. The blacksmith is hammering a piece of iron, sparks flying in the dim room. You wait until he pauses, wiping his brow. "The grate," you say. "One of the bars on the north side is warping, the heat is bending it." The smith nods, grabbing a piece of charcoal and making a mark on a slate. "North side. I'll send a boy up with a replacement tomorrow during the day shift. Can it hold for tonight?" "It will hold," you say, "but it needs watching." "Keep an eye on it," he grunts, returning to his anvil. Clang, clang, clang. You leave the workshops and walk to the edge of the seawall. The sun is touching the horizon now, a blazing orange ball sinking into the purple water. The sky is streaked with bands of pink and violet. The transition, the changing of the guard. The city behind you is glowing in the twilight, the white marble of the palaces and temples reflecting the last light of the day. But you turn your back on the city, you face the sea, you face the dark. You take a deep breath of the salt air. You center yourself. You let go of the day, the food, the conversation, the warmth of the sun. You summon the Night's Elf, the Watcher, the Keeper. You turn and walk towards the great door at the base of the tower. The guards nod as you pass. You step into the cool shadow of the entrance hall. The spiral staircase awaits. It twists upwards into the gloom, a stone serpent coiling towards the sky. You adjust your satchel. You check your flask. You place your hand on the central pillar. 1 step, 2 steps. The ascent begins again. The rhythm returns. Step, breathe, step. The world of men falls away. The silence wraps around you. You're climbing back to your post, back to the fire, back to the star. Tonight the air is calm. The storm has passed, leaving the atmosphere scrubbed clean. As you climb, you can see through the slit windows that the stars are already out, sharp and brilliant points of ice in the deepening blue. The moon is rising, a waxing gibbous casting a silver path across the water. It will be a clear night. A good night for sailing, a good night for watching. You reach the first landing, you listen. The tower is quiet tonight. No groans from the stone, no howling wind, just the steady, reassuring solidity of the structure. You continue, your legs feel strong, the rest has done you good. You find yourself humming a low tune, an old sailor's song your father used to sing, a song about the North Star and the way home. You reach the fuel stores, you check the seals, perfect. You reach the final landing, the bronze door, you open it. The heat hits you, but it is less violent tonight. The fire is burning steadily, a calm golden roar. Milo is there, polishing the railing. He looks up and smiles. "Quiet night," he says. "The wind is sleeping." "Good," you say. "Go down, eat." He nods. He hands you the iron rod. The cypress wicks are in, they burn quick. "I know," you say. "The old man told me." Milo claps you on the shoulder and heads for the door. "Watch the north grate," he adds over his shoulder. "I know," you say. He leaves, the door closes, you are alone. You walk to the edge of the gallery. The view tonight is breathtaking. The air is so clear you feel you can see the curve of the earth. The city below is a carpet of tiny flickering lamps, mirroring the stars above. The harbour is calm, the ships resting on glass. The beam of the lighthouse is strong and straight, a finger of light pointing the way. You check the fire, you adjust the logs, you tap the wicks, you start your rounds, polish, wipe, check. The routine is a comfort, it is a dance you know by heart. You stand by the railing and look out at the sea. Far, far out on the very edge of vision, you see a tiny light, a ship, heading in. You watch it, it is steady, it is safe, because you are here. You lean back against a column. You are the lighthouse keeper of Alexandria. The world turns. The kings rise and fall, the wars rage and end, but the light remains, and you remain. You close your eyes for a second just to listen to the fire. It whispers to you. A story of heat and wood and air, a story of home. You open your eyes, you pick up the rag, you turn to the mirror. There is work to do, and the night is just beginning. The night deepens, settling into a profound velvet stillness. The clear air, devoid of the storm's moisture, allows the cold to descend with a sharp, crystalline clarity. It is a dry cold, one that seeps into the stone and radiates from the bronze mirror, nipping at your fingertips even near the fire. You wrap your wool cloak tighter, pulling the rough fabric up to your chin. The fire is your only companion, its heat a localized island of summer in a winter of stone. You move to the north side of the brazier to inspect the grate as Milo and the smith had warned. You lean in, shielding your face with a gloved hand. There it is, a slight inward bow in the thick iron bar, glowing a dull cherry red while its neighbours are black. The heat stress is real. It is not critical yet, but it is a weakness. You take the long iron poker and gently shift the weight of the burning logs away from that specific bar, redistributing the thermal load. The fire hisses as the wood moves, sparks swirling up into the draft. You watch the bar for a moment longer. The red glow fades slightly as it cools. It will hold. It has to hold. You walk to the gallery railing again. The moon has climbed higher, shrinking and brightening, casting sharp geometrical shadows of the columns across the floor. The sea below is a sheet of hammered pewter, rippling silently. The The silence tonight is vast. Without the wind to mask it, you can hear the faintest sounds from the world below. The bark of a dog in the city, the creak of rigging from a ship adjusting to the tide, the rhythmic slap of water against the breakwater. It emphasizes your isolation. You are an eagle in an eyrie of stone observing the world of mice. You decide to check the oil flow again. The cypress wicks are indeed thirsty. The level in the primary feed reservoir has dropped faster than usual. You move to the reserve amphorae stored in the alcove. You lift one, the clay cold and damp against your chest, and carry it to the reservoir. You pour. The oil is thick and dark, glugging slowly. It smells of pressed olives and earth, a smell of the sun-drenched groves far to the south. It is strange to think that this liquid sunlight harvested by farmers who will never see this tower is now being released here, high above the ocean to guide strangers home. You are the alchemist, transforming the labour of the earth into the safety of the sea. You set the empty jar down with a soft clink. You pick up your rag. The mirror calls. Even on a clear night, the smoke is an enemy. It leaves a greasy film that is almost invisible to the eye but steals the brilliance of the beam. You begin the circuit. Rub, wipe, polish. Your reflection moves across the convex bronze, distorted and ghostly. You look tired in the reflection, your face smudged with soot, your eyes dark hollows, but you do not feel tired. You feel a strange vibrating clarity, a result of the altitude and the silence. You pause at the eastern quadrant. Something catches your eye, not out at sea but down on the causeway. A group of torches moving. Not the usual patrol, too many and moving too fast. You watch. They are heading towards the harbour master's office. A disturbance? A late arrival? It's too far to tell. You feel a flicker of curiosity, a human instinct to know the news, but you suppress it. It does not matter. Whatever is happening down there is the business of the ground. Your business is the sky. You return to your bench. You take out a small knife and a piece of wood from your satchel. It is a piece of driftwood you found on the shore weeks ago, bleached white and smooth by the salt. You begin to whittle. It is a mindless task, something to keep your hands busy while your eyes watch the fire. Shavings curl away, falling to the stone floor. You are making nothing in particular, just shaping the wood, revealing the grain. It is a way to measure time. Each shaving is a second, each curve is a minute. The night stretches. The constellation of the hunter sinks towards the west. The Great Bear prowls the northern horizon. You drink water. You eat a handful of dried figs, the seeds crunching between your teeth, the sweetness bursting in your mouth. A burst of energy. Suddenly, a sound breaks the rhythm. A sharp crack, followed by a hiss. You leap up. One of the resin logs has split violently, spitting a large ember out of the brazier. It lands on the stone floor, glowing angrily, rolling towards the stack of unburned fuel. You move, not with panic, but with immediate fluid action. You grab the iron shovel leaning against the wall. You scoop up the ember just as it touches the edge of the canvas tarp. You fling it back into the fire. It lands in the heart of the flames and vanishes. You check the tarp. A small brown scorch mark. Nothing more. You let out a breath you didn't know you were holding. Adrenaline spikes, sharp and metallic in your blood. The peace of the night was an illusion. The fire is a wild beast in a cage. It is never truly tame. It watches for a moment of weakness. You stand guard over the fuel pile for a long time, shovel in hand, daring the fire to try again. It does not. It burns contentedly, mocking your vigilance. You settle back down, but you do not whittle. You watch. Your eyes scan the flames, reading the colours. Blue for the hottest gas, yellow for the burning wood, orange for the cooling soot. You learn the language of the fire. It speaks of consumption and transformation. The hours pass. The wolf hour comes again. That deepest dip of the night before the dawn. The cold intensifies. You stand up and stomp your feet, swinging your arms to drive the blood into your extremities. You walk a lap around the gallery briskly. 1 lap. 2 laps. The movement warms you. You stop at the window facing the open sea, and there you see it. A ship. Not the distant speck you saw earlier. This one is close. Much closer than it should be. It is a merchant galley. broad in the beam, struggling. It is listing slightly. You can see the tiny, frantic movements of lanterns on its deck. They are drifting towards the diamond rocks, a cluster of submerged reefs a mile north of the harbour entrance. The current there is treacherous. They have lost their way, or their rudder. You grip the railing. Your heart hammers against your ribs. Turn, you whisper. Turn south, you fools. You look at your light. It is blazing. It is impossible to miss. Why are they drifting? Then you realise the mist. A low, localised bank of sea fog has rolled in over the rocks, obscuring the waterline, perhaps confusing their depth perception. They can see the light, but they cannot see the danger beneath them. You cannot shout to them, you cannot wave. You're a statue in the sky. But you can change the light. It is forbidden. The protocol is strict. A steady beam, always. But protocols are for calm nights. You grab the iron shutter, a heavy plate used to block the light during maintenance or daybreak. You swing it in front of the flame. Darkness. The beam vanishes. You count 1, 2, 3. You pull the shutter back. Light. The beam stabs out again. Darkness. 1, 2, 3. Light. You are flashing the light. An SOS in reverse, a warning. Look at me, something is wrong. You do it again. Dark, light, the rhythmic pulsing of the great eye. On the deck of the ship, the lanterns pause. The frantic movement stops. They have seen it. They have seen the lighthouse blinking. It is a sign, a warning. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, you see the ship begin to pivot. The oars come out, splashing in the dark water, fighting the current. They are turning hard to port, away from the rocks, away from the invisible teeth. You keep flashing until they are clear, until you see them catch the safe channel wind. They slide past the danger zone, moving towards the harbour mouth. They are safe. You leave the shutter open. The steady beam returns. You lean against the railing, your knees weak. You are shaking. You just spoke to a ship with a fire and a piece of iron. You feel a connection so powerful it almost brings you to your knees. You saved them. They will never know your name. They will tell stories in the taverns of a lighthouse that blinked, of a god that winked at them. But it was just you and your judgment. The sky begins to lighten. The grey creeps in from the east. The fog bank over the rocks dissipates, revealing the jagged black teeth that almost claimed 50 lives. The sea turns from black to grey to a bruised blue. You tend the fire one last time. You bank the logs, preparing it for the day mode. The urgency fades. The adrenaline drains away, leaving the heavy, sweet exhaustion of a job done. The door opens. Milo. Morning, he says, yawning. Anything? You look at him. You look at the ship now safely anchoring in the harbour. Just a quiet night, you say. One ship came in close. Good, he says. He doesn't know. You don't tell him. It is your secret. You hand him the rod. You walk to the door. Sleep well, Milo says. I will, you answer. You descend the stairs, the spiral, the stone, the ground. You walk out into the morning. The sun is up. The city is loud. You are a ghost returning to the world of the living. You walk to your room. You strip, you wash, you lie down. The bed is soft. The blanket is warm. You close your eyes. You see the ship turning. You see the oars biting the water. You smile. You drift. The silence takes you. The light is still burning in your mind. You sleep. The heat of the afternoon is a physical weight, pressing down on the stone roof of your cell. Even through the thick limestone walls, the warmth of the Egyptian sun penetrates, turning the air in your room heavy and still. You wake not from a sound, but from the shift in temperature. The cool sanctuary of the morning has evaporated, replaced by the stagnant, dusty warmth of the midday. You lie still for a moment, listening. The silence of the tower is gone. In its place is the distant, muffled roar of Alexandria at work. It is a chaotic hum, the shouting of stevedores, the rumble of cartwheels on cobblestones, the bleating of goats, the endless hammering of the shipyards. It sounds exhausting. You sit up, your hair damp with sweat sticking to your forehead. You rub your face, feeling the stubble on your chin. It has been 3 days since you shaved. It does not matter. The fire does not care about your appearance, and the stars are indifferent to a beard. You drink the last of the water in your clay jug. It is lukewarm and tastes slightly of the clay, but it washes the sleep from your throat. Today you decide you will leave the island. You will cross the causeway. You need fresh figs, and the sandals you wear are wearing thin at the heel. The strap is nearly chewed through by the constant friction of the stone stairs. A keeper cannot have broken shoes. To slip on the stairs while carrying a jar of naphtha is to invite catastrophe. You dress in your off-duty tunic, a lighter linen, bleached white by the sun but stained slightly yellow by the years. You tie your money pouch to your belt, a few copper drachmas heavy and dull. You step out of your room. The corridor is empty. The day shift is at work. The night shift is sleeping or waking. You're in the liminal space between. Emerging from the base of the tower, the light is blinding. You squint, raising a hand to shield your eyes. The sun is high, though beginning its slide towards the west. The sky is a hard, brilliant blue, devoid of the softness of the night. The Pharos rises above you, a blinding white cliff against the azure. You have to crane your neck back so far it hurts to see the summit. From down here it looks impossible. Did you really climb that? Do you really live up there? It seems like a monument to a god, not a workplace. You walk towards the Heptastadion, the great 7-stadia causeway that connects the island of Pharos to the mainland. It is a marvel of engineering, a wide road built upon the sea bustling with traffic. You merge into the stream of humanity. There are merchants from Greece arguing with customs officials. There are dark-skinned Nubians carrying crates of ivory. There are Roman soldiers in red tunics, looking bored and hot. There are priests of Serapis in long robes, moving with a slow, deliberate dignity. You walk among them, but you are not of them. You move at a different pace. Your stride is measured, the walk of a man used to pacing a small gallery, used to testing each step. You feel the vibration of the carts on the road, the dust kicking up into your nose. It smells of dried donkey dung, spices, unwashed bodies, and roasting meat. It is an assault on the senses after the purity of the high air. You reach the mainland and turn towards the marketplace near the great harbour. The noise here is deafening. Vendors are screaming their wares, competing for attention. Fish, fresh from the Nile. Dates, sweet as honey. Linen, finest weave. You navigate the stalls, keeping your head down, a ghost passing through the feast of life. You find the cobbler's stall, a small awning shaded by a tattered piece of canvas. The cobbler is a man you know, a short, stout Egyptian with hands stained black by dye. He's hammering a nail into a sole, a nail held between his lips. He sees you and spits the nail into his hand. "The keeper," he says, nodding. "You need leather?" "My heel is gone," you say, lifting your foot. He inspects it, his fingers prodding the worn leather. "You walk too much on stone," he diagnoses. "Stone eats leather. You need oxhide, thick, double soles." "How much?" "For you, 3 drachmas, because you keep the pirates off my shipments." He grins, showing some missing teeth. "It is a fair price." You nod. He sets to work, measuring your foot against a slab of stiff, cured hide. You stand there waiting. You watch the crowd. You see a group of sailors stumbling out of a tavern, laughing, their arms around each other's shoulders. They look rough, sun-bleached, their skin the colour of mahogany. One of them has a bandage around his head. You wonder if they were on the ship last night. You wonder if they know that the reason they are drinking wine today instead of feeding the fish at the bottom of the reef is because a man they ignored in the street just bought a pair of sandals. The thought gives you a strange secret pleasure. You are the invisible guardian. You are the silent partner in their survival. "Done," the cobbler says. He hands you the new sandals. The leather is stiff and smells of tannin and oak. Wear them in wet first, mould them to your feet. You pay him. You tie the new sandals to your belt and keep wearing the old ones. You will break them in slowly, wearing them for an hour each night on the gallery. You move to the food stalls. The smell of roasting cumin and coriander draws you in. You buy a bag of dried figs, sticky and dark. You buy a small pot of honey. You buy a loaf of bread, still warm from the oven. These are your luxuries. Up in the tower, a fig dipped in honey is a banquet. The sun is lower now. The shadows are stretching long and thin across the streets. The golden hour has arrived, bathing the city in a rich amber light. The white limestone of the buildings turns to gold. The dust in the air becomes a shimmering haze. It is beautiful, you admit. The city is beautiful. but it is too full. Too many voices, too many eyes. You feel the urge to retreat, to ascend. You turn back towards the causeway. The flow of traffic has reversed. The workers are leaving the island, heading home to the city. You're going against the tide. You are heading out to the edge of the world while everyone else seeks the centre. The walk back feels longer. Your legs are tired, not from climbing, but from the flat, hard pounding of the road. The dust coats your throat. You long for the clean, salt wind of the summit. As you reach the base of the tower, the sun touches the horizon. The great shadow of the Pharos stretches out over the harbour, a long, dark finger pointing towards the east, touching the royal palace, touching the library. It claims the city. You enter the cool shade of the entrance hall. The noise of the world is instantly cut off, replaced by the hushed echo of stone. You breathe deeply. The smell of the tower, oil, smoke, damp limestone is a welcome embrace. It smells like home. You go to your room and drop your purchases on the small wooden table. You eat a fig, chewing slowly, letting the sugar rush into your blood. You change back into your working tunic, the one that smells of smoke. You check your satchel. Flask filled? Yes. Polishing rag? Yes. Knife? Yes. You step out, the stairs await. The climb begins. The transition. You leave the man who bought sandals down in the room. You become the keeper. Step, breathe, step, breathe. The familiar burn in your thighs is welcome tonight. It clears the mind. It burns away the noise of the market. You pass the window where the light turns from gold to grey. Twilight. The most dangerous time for ships, when the water and the sky merge into one indistinguishable shade. You need to be up there. You pass the fuel stores. The day crew has been busy. The jars are replenished, stacked high and neat. Good. You pass the section of the wall where the wind usually sings. Tonight it is humming a low, steady note. A moderate breeze, manageable. You reach the top, the bronze door. You push it open. The fire is already lit, but it is low. The daykeeper, a young man named Theron, is raking the ashes. He looks up, sweat streaking his face. Hot day, he says. Hot day, you agree. The market was a furnace. The wind is picking up from the west, Theron reports, handing you the iron rake. I cleaned the mirror twice. The dust from the city was blowing up here all afternoon. I saw the dust, you say. Go down, the water is cool. Theron nods, grateful. He slips past you, vanishing into the stairwell. You are alone again. You walk to the gallery railing. The sun is gone. The afterglow is a band of deep orange on the horizon, fading into violet. The first star has appeared. Venus, the evening star, hanging bright and lonely in the west. You nod to it. A colleague. You turn to the fire. It needs feeding. You lift the first amphora of the night. The oil pours. The flames leap. The roar begins. The beam of light strengthens, cutting through the twilight, asserting its dominance over the coming night. You put on your new sandals. They are stiff, biting into your heels. You wince, but you lace them tight. You walk the perimeter. 1 lap, 2 laps. The leather creaks. You will break them in, just as the tower has broken you in, shaping you to its needs, toughening your skin, strengthening your legs, quieting your mind. You stop at the north side. You check the grate. The bar you moved the logs away from last night is dark. Good. You place the fresh logs carefully, building a structure of wood that will burn evenly, avoiding the weak spot. You're an architect of fire. The night fully descends. The city below becomes a galaxy of terrestrial stars. The sea becomes a void. You stand at the edge, the wind ruffling your hair. You eat another fig, the taste of the earth sweet on your tongue. You look out at the black ocean. Somewhere out there, captains are looking for you. They are searching the horizon for the rhythm of your fire. You are their north, their south, their east, and their west. You take your rag, you turn to the mirror, rub, wipe, polish. The night is long, but you are here, and the light holds. The new sandals are a mistake, or perhaps they are a necessary penance. The stiff, unyielding ox hide bites into your heels with every step you take around the gallery. It is a sharp, rhythmic pinch that grounds you, preventing your mind from drifting too far into the hypnotic dance of the flames. You pause to adjust the strap, loosening it by a single notch, but the relief is minimal. The leather needs sweat and time to soften, just as you needed time to harden against the isolation. You accept the pain. It is merely another sensation to catalogue, alongside the heat of the fire and the chill of the stone. The wind has died down completely. The air is still and heavy, hanging suspended over the Mediterranean. This brings a new challenge, one that the winter storms usually scour away: life. It begins with a single soft thwack against the bronze mirror, then another, then a steady dry rain of impacts. Moths, thousands of them, drawn from the marshlands of the delta and the gardens of the city by the irresistible, terrible sun you have kindled. They swirl in the beam of light, a chaotic blizzard of grey and white wings, their tiny bodies illuminated like dust motes in a cathedral. To the ships at sea, the beam must look fuzzy tonight, softened by the cloud of living matter. You dislike the moth nights. They are messy. The insects dive into the fire, consumed instantly with a faint hiss and a smell of burnt protein that cuts through the wood smoke. Others crash into the hot metal of the basket and fall to the floor, stunned or dying, fluttering their wings in a tragic, dusty panic. You take up a broom made of stiff palm fronds. You sweep the gallery floor, pushing the small broken bodies into the scuppers. It feels like a futile task. For every one you sweep, 10 more arrive. It is a massacre of the innocents, a side effect of guiding the ships. You wonder if the captains below know that their safety is paved with a carpet of wings. You stop sweeping to check the fuel lift. The windless night means the fire is not drawing as fiercely, burning slower and hotter, the smoke rising straight up in a thick vertical column before mushrooming out the roof vent. This requires a different kind of vigilance. Without the draft to pull the heat away, the temperature in the lantern room rises. The bronze fittings of the mirror stand are too hot to touch with a bare hand. You take a heavy cloth soaked in water and wrap it around the lever that controls the oil flow. Steam rises from the cloth, smelling of wet wool. You crank the lever down a fraction. A thinner stream, leaner. You must starve the fire just enough to keep the heat manageable without dimming the light. It is a delicate balance, a conversation between you and the physics of combustion. You walk to the edge of the parapet to escape the stifling heat. The air here is slightly cooler, though still thick with humidity. You look down at the city. Alexandria is never truly dark, but tonight, under the heavy air, the lights of the streets seem blurred, like ink running on wet parchment. You can see the faint outline of the great library complex. You wonder if the scholars are awake down there, hunched over their scrolls, seeking the light of knowledge while you tend the light of fire. Do they know you're here? Do they understand that their philosophy and their poetry are guarded by a man with blistering heels and a broomful of dead moths? Probably not. They write about the stars, you live among them. A sound from the mechanism draws you back, a squeak, rhythmic, high-pitched. It's coming from the chain hoist that brings the fuel jars up from the lower levels. The great wheel, turned by the capstan below, is turning, bringing up the midnight resupply. You move to the hatch in the floor. The heavy iron chain emerges from the dark throat of the tower, glistening with grease. The squeak is metal on metal, a dry bearing. You make a mental note, grease the upper pulley. A wooden pallet rises into view carrying 4 fresh amphorae of oil. The lift stops with a clunk. You engage the brake. This is the heavy work. You step onto the pallet, bracing your legs. You hug the first jar, tilting it to break the suction of its base against the wood. It is heavy, perhaps 80 minae. You grunt, lifting with your legs, not your back. A lesson learnt the hard way years ago. You shuffle step the jar over to the reserve rack. Then the second, the third, the fourth. Your tunic is stuck to your back with sweat. Your breath comes in short, sharp gasps. You're alone, moving hundreds of pounds of fuel in the middle of the night, suspended in the sky. You wipe your forehead with your forearm, leaving a streak of soot. You take a drink from your flask. The water is warm, but it restores you. You release the brake on the hoist, and the empty pallet descends back into the dark shaft, the chain rattling like a snake slithering into its hole. The squeak remains in your mind. It is an imperfection. You cannot grease it now, the wheel is beyond reach while the fire is burning. But you take a shard of slate from your pouch and scratch a mark on the wall near the pulley. Squeak. The day crew will see it. They will fix it, or they will ignore it, and you will hear it again tomorrow. The tower is a living body full of aches and pains that need constant attending. The night wears on. The moth storm abates as the air cools further, leaving only the stragglers fluttering against the glass guards of the lamps. You sit on your bench, the wood polished smooth by the breeches of a dozen keepers before you. You pick up your whittling again. The driftwood is taking the shape of a bird. A heron, perhaps. You carve the long neck, the knife slipping easily through the soft wood. You think about the man in the market, the cobbler. You think about his missing teeth and his laugh. It feels like a memory from a different life. Is that your life? Or is this your life? Down there you are clumsy, overwhelmed by the noise, a stranger in the crowd. Up here you are the master of the element. You know exactly how much oil to pour. You know exactly where the wind will hit. You know the name of the squeak in the pulley. Perhaps the tower has not just trapped you. Perhaps it has defined you. You are no longer a man named Theon or Andreas. You are the Pharos. A sudden flare from the fire snaps you out of your reverie. A pocket of air in the oil line. The flame pulses, a sudden bright cough, then settles. You stand immediately, checking the mirror. No smoke damage. You check the grate. The weak bar is holding, though it glows with a menacing deep orange radiance. You gently tap the log resting near it, moving it an inch to the left. The bar cools, fading to a dull red. You pat the iron railing of the gallery. Hold on, old girl, hold on. The silence of the later hours is profound. The city has finally slept. The harbour is a black mirror. You walk the circuit again. Your new sandals are beginning to surrender, the leather warming and moulding to the shape of your foot. The pain lessens to a dull ache. You stop at the eastern window. The sky is changing. It is not yet light, but the quality of the darkness is shifting. The intense, velvety black is giving way to a cold, hard charcoal. The stars are not fading, but they are retreating, looking further away. The false dawn. You feel the fatigue now. It is not a heaviness in the limbs, but a lightness in the head, a drifting sensation. You force yourself to focus. This is the time when mistakes happen, when a keeper forgets to close a valve, when a keeper sits down just for a moment and wakes up to a dead fire and a ruined reputation. You force yourself to stand. You do calisthenics, deep knee bends, arm swings. You look ridiculous, a lone man dancing in the firelight, but there is no one to see you but the gods, and they have seen stranger things. The true dawn begins as a bleed of grey on the horizon, a bruise on the skin of the world, then a line of pale lemon yellow. The sea begins to separate from the sky. The definition returns to the waves. The beam of the lighthouse fights against the growing ambient light, becoming ghostly and translucent. You begin the shutdown sequence. It is a ritual as precise as the lighting. You reduce the oil flow by half. The roar of the fire drops to a purr. You close the heavy shutters on the windward side to prevent the morning breeze from scattering ash. You take the long rake and begin to bank the coals, pulling the unburnt logs to the perimeter, creating a bed of glowing embers that will sleep through the day, ready to be awakened tonight. The door opens. It is not Milo this time, but a younger lad, Kale, a trainee. He looks fresh, smelling of soap and morning bread. He carries a basket. "Breakfast, sir," he says, his voice too loud in the quiet chamber. He hands you a warm loaf and a piece of hard cheese. "Quietly, Kale," you whisper. "The tower is tired." He looks at you with wide eyes, then nods, lowering his voice. "Yes, sir," the master says. "The oil shipment is late today. We might have to use the reserve tanks tonight." "I used 4 jars from the reserve already," you would tell him, pointing to the empty rack. "The lift pulley is squeaking. It needs grease, thick grease, not the oil." "I'll tell the smith," Kyle says. He looks at the fire. It looks peaceful. "It is sleeping," you say. "Do not wake it until sunset. And watch the north grate. The bar is weak." "The north grate, yes." He repeats it like a catechism. You hand him the tools. You take your breakfast. You step out onto the landing. The door closes behind you, sealing the heat away. The stairwell is cool, a vertical tunnel of stone refrigeration. You begin the descent. Eating as you walk is a bad habit, crumbs falling on the steps, but you are too hungry to wait. You tear a chunk of bread. It is sourdough, tangy and dense. It absorbs the acid in your stomach. The cheese is salty. It is the best meal of the day. You pass the window where the sun is now fully up, blindingly bright. You do not look at it. You are a creature of the dark now. The sun is harsh, revealing the dirt under your fingernails, the stain on your tunic, the age of your skin. You prefer the flattering ambiguity of the night. You reach the bottom. You walk out into the courtyard. The heat of the day is already building, the flies buzzing near the donkey stables. You walk past the workshops. You hear the smith hammering. You hope he's fixing the grate bar. You enter your room. You place the new sandals on the floor. You look at your heels. They are red and blistered. You dip a cloth in your wash basin and dab the raw skin. It stings, a sharp, clean pain. You will wrap them in linen before you sleep. You lie down on the cot. The sounds of the day, the shouting, the hammering, the braying filter through the walls, but they are distant, unimportant. They belong to the day people. You have completed your cycle. You have kept the promise. You close your eyes. The image of the moth storm plays on the back of your eyelids, a swirling galaxy of grey wings. You wonder where they go when the fire dies. Do they sleep? Do they wait? Your breathing slows. The tension in your shoulders unspools. You sink into the mattress. The stone holds you up. You sleep. The dream is strange. You're not in the tower. You're swimming in the great harbour. But the water is not water. It is oil. Thick, golden, viscous oil. You're trying to swim towards the shore, but the current is strong, pulling you out towards the open sea, and on the horizon, the lighthouse is burning, but the flame is green. A cold emerald fire that offers no heat. You shout, but no sound comes out. The oil fills your mouth, tasting of olives and earth. You wake with a gasp. The room is dark. Not the pitch black of night, but the dim grey gloom of twilight. You have overslept. You sit up, your heart racing from the dream. You check the slit of window. Yes, the light is fading. The sun has already set behind the tower. You are late. You scramble out of bed. You splash water on your face, not bothering to dry it properly. You grab your tunic, your belt. You look at the sandals. You cannot wear them tonight. Your heels are too raw. You grab your old pair, the ones with the worn soles. They are soft, familiar friends. You slide your feet in. You run. It is undignified for a keeper to run, but you run. You burst out of your room, startling a cat that was sleeping in the courtyard. You sprint across the cobblestones to the tower entrance. The guards look at you, surprised. You ignore them. You hit the stairs. You do not pace yourself. You take them two at a time. The burn in your legs is immediate, a fiery protest from your muscles. 1, 2, 1, 2. Your breath tears at your throat. Why did no one wake you? Did Kale forget? Is something wrong? You pass the fuel level. The lift is stationary. You pass the wind level. The air is whistling. A northerly wind tonight, stiff and cold. You reach the top. Your chest is heaving, your heart hammering a frantic rhythm against your ribs. You throw open the bronze door. The lantern room is dark. Panic, cold and absolute washes over you. The fire is out, the grate is black, the lighthouse is blind. Kale, you shout. There is no answer. The wind howls through the open gallery, mocking you. You stumble forward. You touch the brazier. It is warm but not hot. The coals are dead. Where is the boy? Then you see him, slumped in the corner behind the oil reservoir. You rush to him. Is he dead? Hurt? You shake him. He groans. His eyes flutter open. He looks dazed. There is a lump on his forehead, purple and swelling. Sir, he mumbles, the lever. Pull. You look at the oil lever. It is bent, jammed in the closed position. He must have slipped, hit his head, and knocked the valve shut as he fell. The fire starved while he lay unconscious. There is no time for comfort. There is no time for blame. The sea is dark. The ships are blind. Stay there, you command. You move to the brazier. You need fire, now. You grab the flint and steel from the emergency box. You grab a handful of tow, rough, unspun flax soaked in wax. You jam it into the center of the dark logs. You strike the flint. Sparks fly. Once, twice, nothing. Come on, you hiss. Strike. A spark catches the tow. A tiny blue flame wavers. You blow on it gently, coaxing it. It grows. It catches the wax. It licks at the wood. But the wood is cool. It will take time to catch. Too much time. You need an accelerant. You look at the oil lever. Jammed. You grab the iron rod you use for the wicks. You jam it into the mechanism of the lever. You heave. The metal groans. You grit your teeth, putting your entire weight behind it. Move, move. With a screech of tortured bronze, the lever snaps back. The valve opens. The oil flows. It hits at the tiny flame. Whoosh! An explosion of light. The fire roars to life, angry and sudden. The blast of heat knocks you backward. You shield your face. The beam shoots out across the sea. The lighthouse is awake. You scramble to your feet. You check the mirror. The sudden heat might have cracked it. You scan the surface. It is intact. You check KL. He is sitting up now, holding his head, looking at the fire with terror. "I'm sorry," he weeps. "I'm sorry." You look at the fire, then at the boy. You are shaking. "It is lit," you say, your voice trembling. "That is all that matters." You walk to the gallery edge. You look out. Had any ships crashed in the hour of darkness? You scan the water near the diamond rocks. You see nothing. No wreckage, no distress flares. The gods were kind. You lean against the column, sliding down until you're sitting on the stone floor. You bury your face in your hands. You laugh. A short, hysterical laugh. You are the keeper. And tonight, you almost lost the light. "Get up, Kyle," you say, standing up. The weakness passes. The duty returns. "We have work to do. The North Grate is still weak." You pick up the rag. You walk to the mirror. Rub, wipe, polish. The night has only just begun. The adrenaline that surged through your veins during the crisis begins to curdle into a sour, trembling exhaustion. The fire is stable now, roaring with a steady, reassuring cadence, but you cannot trust it. You find yourself staring at the flames with a suspicion that borders on paranoia, watching for the slightest flicker, the smallest hesitation in the combustion. Every pop of sap, every shift of a log makes your muscles tense, ready to spring. You're no longer just a keeper, you're a jailer watching a prisoner who has already tried to escape. Kale is sitting on the stone bench, his back against the cool column. He holds a wet rag to his forehead, the water dripping down his nose. He looks small in the vastness of the lantern room, a child playing at being a titan. "Does it hurt?" you ask. Your voice sounds harsh, scraping against the silence. "It throbs," Kyle whispers. He looks at you with fear in his eyes, not fear of the injury, but fear of you, fear of the report you will write, fear of the expulsion that surely awaits a keeper who lets the light die. You turn away from him, looking out at the sea. The darkness is absolute out there. The brief period of blindness, how long was it? 2 minutes? 5? It feels like a lifetime. In that gap, a ship could have lost its bearing. A captain could have doubted his eyes. The continuity of the Pharos is its promise. Tonight, the promise stuttered. You walk over to the oil feed mechanism. The lever you forced open is bent, the bronze handle twisted at an unnatural angle. The metal is scored where you jammed the iron rod. It is a scar on the machine. You run your thumb over the gouge. This is evidence. "The lever stuck," you say aloud, testing the weight of the lie. Kale looks up. "Sir?" "Sir?" "The lever stuck," you repeat, turning to face him. The valve seized. You tried to open it. You pulled too hard. You slipped. You hit your head. The mechanism failed. Kale stares at you, processing this. "But I fell asleep. I wasn't—" "You were fighting a seized valve," you say firmly. "That is what happened. That is what goes in the log. The tower is old, metal fatigues, men do not." Tears well up in the boy's eyes again. He understands what you are offering him. A lifeline. A pardon. "Thank you," he chokes out. "Do not thank me," you snap, turning back to the fire. "Thank the smith who forged that rod, or we would both be in darkness. And do not think this absolves you. You will work double shifts on the fuel line for a month. You will haul every drop of oil that burns in this basket until your back screams. You will learn the weight of the light. Yes, sir, I will, I swear." You nod. You pick up the polishing row. The mirror needs wiping. It always needs wiping. You begin the rhythm. Rub, wipe, polish. The motion soothes you, untying the knots in your stomach. The rest of the night passes in a blur of hypervigilance. You do not sit. You do not whittle. You pace. You check the flow. You check the wicks. You check Kale, making sure he doesn't drift off into the dangerous sleep of a concussion. You make him talk to you. You make him count the stars in the constellation of the Swan. You make him recite the names of the winds. When the dawn finally arrives, it brings no joy. only a grey, flat relief. The sun bleaches the sky, turning the sea the colour of dirty iron. You dampen the fire, you bank the coals. The roar fades to a murmur. You help Kale to his feet, he sways dizzy. You take his arm, draping it over your shoulder. Walk steady, you say. We go down. The descent is slow. Kale stumbles on the worn steps. You hold him up, taking his weight. It is a different kind of burden than the oil, awkward and shifting. You pass the day crew coming up. They look at Kale's bruised face, at your soot-stained tunic. Valve seized, you tell them briefly as you pass. Northside feed needs the smith. They nod, eyes widening. They do not question you. You are the senior keeper. You are the one who stayed. When you reach the ground, you take Kyle to the infirmary. The physician, a Greek with hands that smell of vinegar and dried herbs, examines the boy. A hard knock, he says, pressing on the bruise. Kyle winces. Rest, shade, no climbing for a week. You leave him there. You walk to the smithy. The smith is already at his forge, the bellows puffing rhythmically. The north feed lever is bent, you tell him. He stops hammering. Bent? Seized, had to force it. He frowns, wiping his hands on his leather apron. Bronze shouldn't seize. I oiled it last moon. It seized, you say, looking him in the eye. Is old iron and salt air. Fix it. He holds your gaze for a moment, looking for something in your face. Perhaps he sees the lie. Perhaps he sees the exhaustion. He nods slowly. I'll cast a new pin, stronger alloy. Good. You walk to your room. You're vibrating with fatigue. You strip off your tunic. You see burns on your forearms, small red blisters where the sparks from the explosion hit you. You didn't feel them at the time. Now, they can sting now. You wash them with cool water. You sit on the edge of your bed. You look at your hands. They are shaking, not from age, but from the aftershock of adrenaline. You clench them into fists. You lie down. You close your eyes. Usually, sleep comes like a tide. Today it stays away. Your mind keeps replaying the moment of darkness, the silence of the fire, the terror of the void. You wonder how many ships were looking at the tower in that exact moment. Did they blink? Did they think a cloud had passed? Or did they feel the sudden, cold absence of God? You drift into a shallow, fitful doze. You dream of the lever. In the dream, it is not made of bronze, but of bone. And when you pull it, it screams. You wake in the late afternoon. The light in the room is heavy and gold. You feel unrested, as if you have been carrying stones in your sleep, but the routine pulls you up. The body knows what to do even when the mind rebels. You dress, you eat. The bread tastes like ash, the water tastes like metal. You go to the courtyard, the sun is setting, the shadows are long. You look up at the tower. It stands impassive, white and towering against the deepening blue. It hides its secrets well. From here you cannot see the bent lever. You cannot see the scorch marks on the floor. It looks perfect, eternal. You begin the climb. Tonight you are alone. No Kyle, no trainee, just you. The solitude usually feels like a privilege. Tonight it feels like a sentence. You reach the top. The daykeeper, Theron again, looks relieved to see you. The smith fixed the lever, he reports. Works smooth as silk now. Said something about the pin being sheared. Good, you say. Heard about the boy, Theron says, lowering his voice. Lucky he didn't break his neck. Lucky, you agree. Theron leaves. You are alone. You inspect the repair. The smith has done good work. The new lever is shiny, contrasting with the dull patina of the old machinery. You test it. It moves effortlessly. You open the valve. The oil flows. The fire responds. You settle in. The night begins. It is a quiet night. The sea is calm. The wind is a gentle southerly, bringing the warm scent of the desert, dry sand and distant spice mixing with the salt. It should be a peaceful watch, but you cannot settle. You find yourself checking the fire every few minutes. You check the backup wicks. You check the water buckets. You check the sand. You are checking things that do not need checking. You are trying to control the uncontrollable. You walk to the gallery edge. You look down at the city. It is celebrating something. A festival of Isis, perhaps. You can see processions of torches winding through the streets like rivers of fire. You can hear the faint, rhythmic beating of drums drifting up on the warm air. Boom, boom, boom. They are dancing down there. They are feasting. They trust that the light is there. They do not look up to check, they assume. The weight of that assumption presses on your shoulders. You realize, standing there in the wind, that you are angry. You are angry at the boy for his weakness. You are angry at the lever for its failure. You are angry at the city for its ignorance. They sleep and dance and sail because you bleed your life away on these stones. You burn your skin, you ruin your feet. You age in the smoke while they stay young in the sun. It is a bitter thought, poisonous and dark. You let it wash over you, you do not fight it. The tower is a place for hard truths. You turn back to the fire. It crackles, indifferent to your mood. It demands to be fed. Hungry beast, you whisper. You feed it. You pour the oil. You watch it consume. You take your knife and your driftwood. You sit on the bench. You begin to carve again. The heron is taking shape. You carve the feathers of the wing, tiny, intricate notches. You focus all your anger, all your fear into the point of the knife. Notch, notch, notch. The hours pass, the drums in the city fade, the torches burn out, the city sleeps. Around midnight, the wind shifts. It swings around to the north, bringing a sudden chill. You smell the change before you feel it, the smell of ozone and wet distance. A front is coming. You stand and wrap your cloak tighter. You look out. The stars in the north are disappearing, swallowed by a bank of low, black clouds. No lightning this time, just a heavy, suffocating blanket of moisture. Fog, the enemy of the light. It rolls in silently, a grey wall devouring the sea. It swallows the horizon first, then the breakwater, then the harbour entrance. It creeps up the tower, dampening the sound of the waves. Soon, you are floating in a grey void. You cannot see the ground, you cannot see the sky. The beam of the lighthouse hits the wall of mist and scatters, creating a blinding halo of white light around the tower. It is disorienting. The light is trapped, reflected back at you. You know what this means? To a ship out there, the light will be a diffuse glow lacking direction. They will see the brightness, but they won't be able to judge the distance. You must tend the fire to maximum brightness. You need every lumen of power to punch through the soup. You open the valve fully. The fire roars, sensing the challenge. You add the driest wood, the pieces that burn white hot. You stand by the mirror, wiping the condensation that forms instantly on the metal. The mist is wet. It licks at everything. You are working hard now. The heat of the fire fights the damp of the fog. You are sweating again. Suddenly, a bird crashes onto the gallery floor. A gull. It is confused by the light, blinded by the fog. It flops on the stone, squawking, then another, and another. They are falling out of the sky. The light in the fog attracts them, disorients them. They fly into the tower, into the columns, into the fire. It is a rain of birds. You grab your broom. You try to sweep them away, but they are alive, panicked. They peck at your sandals. They flap against your legs. It is a nightmare scene. The white mist, the blinding halo of light, the screaming birds, the roaring fire. You shout at them. Oh! Go away! You are waving your arms, a madman in the clouds. One bird, a large cormorant, flies straight into the fire basket. There is a sickening sizzle, a smell of burning feathers that makes you gag. The bird thrashes in the flames, scattering sparks. You have to get it out. The fat from the bird will cause the fire to flare unpredictably, or the carcass will block the airflow. You grab the iron tongs, you reach into the inferno. The heat sears your face. Ooh. You clamp the tongs around the burning mass of the bird. You pull it out. It is a ball of fire. You fling it over the railing into the mist. It falls like a meteor, extinguished by the damp air before it hits the sea. You fall back, gussum. You lean against a column, sliding down to the floor. The birds are calming down, settling on the railings, huddled and shivering. They have accepted the tower as a perch, an island in the white ocean. You look at them, they look at you. Fine, you pant. Stay, just stay out of the fire. You sit there for a long time, surrounded by the refugees of the air. The fog holds. The light pushes against it. You are tired, so tired. But you are the keeper. You stand up, you check the oil, you check the mirror. You survive the night. When the sun rises, it burns the fog away. The mist retreats, revealing a sparkling, clean morning. The birds take flight, launching themselves from the gallery with cries of relief, diving towards the sea to hunt. You watch them go, you feel a strange kinship with them. You're all just trying to survive the dark. Milo comes up for the relief. He looks at the feathers on the floor, the scorch marks. "Bird night?" he asks. "Bird night, you confirm. "Messy," he says. "Very." You hand him the rod as you walk to the door. "The north lever works well," you say. "Good," Milo says. You descend. You walk out onto the causeway. The air is fresh. You see a ship entering the harbour, its sails hanging limp, its oars moving slowly. It looks battered, salt-stained. It has crossed the sea. It has arrived. You stop. You watch it. You see a figure on the deck, the captain perhaps, looking up at the tower. He raises a hand, a salute. Or maybe he is just shielding his eyes from the sun. It doesn't matter. You feel a warmth within your chest that has nothing to do with the sun. The anger of the night evaporates. The bitterness fades. You are the keeper, and the ship is home. You walk towards your room, your steplight. You will sleep well today. The fire is burning, the lever is fixed, the boy is healing, and the night will come again, and you will be ready. The sleep that follows the night of the birds is deep and dreamless, a black shutter pulled down over your mind. When you wake, the room is filled with the watery, diffuse light of a cloudy afternoon. The storm has truly passed, but it has left behind a sky of bruised purple and grey hanging low over the city. You sit up, and the first thing you notice is the smell. Even after watching, the scent of singed feathers and burnt fat lingers faintly on your skin, a ghostly reminder of the chaotic aviary the lantern room became. You rub your face, feeling the grit in your eyes. Your body feels heavy, the muscles in your legs tight like coiled ropes. The tower demands a toll for every night it functions, and last night the toll was high. You dress slowly. The routine is the only thing that moves you forward. Tunic, belt, sandals. You pick up the old sandals today. The blisters on your heels from the new leather have scabbed over, but they are still too tender for another breaking-in session. You choose comfort over vanity. No one sees your feet in the dark anyway. Today is not just another day. Today is the day of the barges. You can hear them before you see them as you step out of the barracks. The deep, rhythmic chanting of the rowers echoes off the stone walls of the harbour. Heave, ho, heave, ho. It is the heartbeat of the River Nile, transplanted to the sea. You walk out to the quay on the leeward side of the island. The wind is brisk, whipping the water into a chop, but the great flat-bottomed barges plough through it with heavy indifference. There are 3 of them, sitting low in the water piled high with the fuel that feeds the sun. They have come down the Nile, through the canals and out into the great harbour. They carry the forests of the interior, cedar from Lebanon, pine from Cyprus, resin-soaked logs from the delta. The lighthouse is a hungry beast. It eats a forest every month. You stand on the dock watching the docking procedure. It is a chaotic ballet. Ropes are thrown, thick hemp lines splashing into the water, retrieved by the dock hands who secure them to the iron bollards. The wood groans against the stone. The foreman of the dock crew, a giant of a man named Juba, barks orders. He sees you and raises a hand, not a wave but a summons. You walk over. You are the quality control. You are the one who has to burn this wood. If it is wet, if it is green, if it is rotten, you are the one who will choke on the smoke and fight to keep the temperature up. Cargo from the south, Juba grunts, gesturing to the first barge. Acacia and pine, good resin content. You step onto the barge. The wood is stacked in cords. You pull a log from the middle of the stack, not the edge where the sun has dried it. You weigh it in your hands. It is heavy, dense. You smell it. It smells sharp, acidic and sweet. The smell of potential fire. You dig your thumbnail into the bark. It is dry. Acceptable, you say. You move to the second barge. This one holds the oil amphorae. Hundreds of them. Sealed with clay and wax. You check the seals. Cracks in the wax mean water might have seeped in. Water in the oil means sputtering, popping and dangerous flares. You check 10 jars at random. They are sound. The oil is clear, Juba says, first depressing. We shall see, you reply. If it smokes, I will know. The unloading begins. It is a flurry of activity. The crane on the dock swings over. The net descends. The wood is loaded. Up it goes, swinging in the air to be stacked in the lower magazines of the tower. It will take 2 days to move all of this up the ramps to the intermediate storage. It is a pyramid of logistics, a mountain of labour. all to produce a single point of light at the top. You watch for a while, the rhythm of the work soothing in its own way. It reminds you that you are not alone. You are the tip of the spear, but the shaft is long and made of many hands, woodcutters, bargemen, dock workers, donkey drivers. They all work for the light, even if they never climb the stairs. You turn away, you have other business. You need to visit the physician again, not for kale, but for supplies. The burn ointment in the emergency box is running low. The infirmary is cool and smells of vinegar. The physician gives you a small clay pot of salve, goose fat mixed with honey and crushed herbs. For the boy, he asks. For the box, you say. The fire bites. How is the lad? He learns, you say. His head is hard. You walk back towards the tower. The sun is trying to break through the clouds, sending shafts of pale light dancing on the water. Day is slipping away. The transition approaches. You enter the tower. The air inside is cool and still, a welcome relief from the wind. You begin the climb. You're carrying the pot of salve and a small bag of fresh dates you bought from a vendor on the quay. As you climb, you inspect the walls. The black snow is accumulating again. Soot. It is the inevitable byproduct of the fire. It clings to the limestone, turning the white walls grey. It settles in the crevices of the carvings. It coats the handrails. Tonight, you decide, will be a cleaning night. It is tedious work, hated by all the keepers, but necessary. If the soot gets too thick, it can catch fire. A chimney fire in the Pharos would be a disaster. It would crack the stone and melt the bronze. You reach the lantern room. Milo is there, looking bored. He is whittling just as you do. A small horse takes shape in his hands. The barges are in, you tell him. I heard the shouting, he says. Good wood? Decent, pinistry. Good. The last batch popped like fireworks. Milo stands, brushing wood shavings from his tunic. The wind is shifting east, bringing dust from the desert. I'll watch the mirror, you say. Milo leaves. You're alone. You start the routine. Check the fire. It is low, banking for the evening. You add 3 logs of the new pine. It catches quickly, burning with a bright yellow flame. Good wood. You check the oil. The reservoir is full. The repair on the lever is holding perfectly. You walk to the gallery. The sun sets behind the clouds, painting the sky in violent shades of bruised purple and blood orange. The city lights begin to flicker on. The world contracts. You take the long-handled brush from the rack. You take a bucket of water and a bag of sand. It is time to fight the soot. You start with the reflector hood, the bronze canopy that hangs above the fire to catch the smoke and funnel it out the roof. It is caked in a thick, velvety layer of black carbon. You dip the brush in water, then sand. You scrub. It is grueling work. You're reaching up, your shoulders burning. Blackened water drips down the handle, running over your hands, staining your arms. You scrub until the dull metal gleams through the black. You move to the next section. Scrub, rinse, scrub, rinse. It is the unglamorous truth of the lighthouse. People think of it as a beacon of hope, a marvel of the world. They do not think of the man covered in soot scrubbing a chimney 300 feet in the air. They do not write poems about the cleaning. But without the cleaning, the light dies. You work for 2 hours. Your tunic is ruined. Your face is streaked with black. You look like a demon from the underworld. Not a guardian of the light. But the hood is clean. The draft will be smooth. The fire will breathe. You stop to drink water. You stand on the gallery, letting the wind dry the sweat on your skin. The easterly wind Milo predicted has arrived. It is dry and gritty, carrying the fine silica dust of the Arabian desert. It feels like powder on your teeth. You have to protect the mirror. You pull the leeward shutters closed, leaving only the seaward side open. You minimize the exposure. You wipe the mirror every 10 minutes. The dust is abrasive. If you rub too hard, you will scratch the bronze. You have to be gentle. A soft cloth, a light touch, like caressing a lover's face. The night settles into a steady monochromatic rhythm. The fire roars, the wind hisses, the dust settles. You wipe. Around midnight you hear a sound, not the wind, not the fire, a voice. You freeze. You are 300 cubits up. There should be no voices. It is a faint, melodic chanting. It seems to be coming from the air itself. You walk to the railing. You listen. It is drifting up from the sea. You strain your eyes. There, far below, near the base of the tower, is a small boat. A fishing skiff. There is a single lantern on the prow, and a man is standing up in the boat singing. He is singing to the tower. You cannot make out the words, but the tone is prayerful. A hymn to Isis, a plea to Poseidon. Or perhaps he's just singing to you, the silent giant in the sky. It is a strange, intimate moment. He thinks he is alone with his god. He does not know you are watching him, a soot-stained mortal leaning over the rail. You feel like an imposter. You are not a god. You are a man with aching shoulders and dirty hands. But you let him sing. You do not interrupt. You let him have his faith. Eventually the boat drifts away, carried by the current. The song fades into the sound of the surf. You return to the fire. You feel a sudden crushing loneliness. The singer had his song. The captain has his ship. The scholar has his scroll. You have the stone and the fire. You are the most visible man in the world, yet the most invisible. You shake your head. Self-pity is a luxury you cannot afford. It leads to distraction. Distraction leads to darkness. You focus on the work. You check the new pine logs. They're burning hot. Too hot? You check the thermometer, a simple device, a bar of wax that melts at a certain temperature. It is soft but not dripping. The temperature is high but safe. You sit on the bench. You take out a date. You eat it. The sweetness is shocking against the taste of dust and soot. You spit the pit into your hand. You put it in your pocket. Maybe you will plant it in the courtyard. A palm tree grown from a seed eaten in the sky. The hours drag, the dust storm intensifies, the beam of light becomes a solid golden bar illuminating the swirling particles. It looks solid enough to walk on, a bridge of light stretching to the horizon. You find yourself staring at the beam. It is hypnotic. If you stare too long, you start to see shapes in the light. Dancers, chariots, faces. The rapture of the deep, the divers call it. The rapture of the height, you call it. You look away. You blink. You force your eyes to focus on the dark, cold reality of the stone floor. You count the flagstones. 1, 2, 3, 4. You need to move. You stand up, you get the broom, you sweep the dust from the floor. It is a fine red powder. It covers everything. By the time the false dawn arrives, you're exhausted. The cleaning, the heat, the dust, it has been a physical battle. You feel encrusted. You want nothing more than to dive into the sea, to wash the tower off your skin. The sun rises, a pale white disk behind the dust haze. It looks sick, weak. The lighthouse is still the brightest thing in the world. You dampen the fire, you close the valves. You wait for Theron. He arrives, coughing. The dust is thick, he says. You can taste it in the barracks. He looks at you. He laughs. You look like a Nubian miner. Soot, you say. I cleaned the hood. Theron whistles. Better you than me. I hate the hood. It's done, you say. Watch the mirror. The dust scratches. I know, go wash. You scare me. You descend. The spiral seems longer going down today. Your knees complain with every step. You reach the bottom. You do not go to your room. You go to the cistern in the courtyard. You draw a bucket of water. You strip off your tunic. You pour the water over your head. It is cold, shocking. You gasp. You scrub your skin with a rough sponge. The water running off you is black. You draw another bucket, and another. You scrub until your skin is red and raw but clean. You feel human again. You walk to your room, dripping wet. You dry off. You put on a clean tunic. You sit on your bed. You take the date pit from your pocket. You place it on the small table. A tiny, hard seed. You lie down. The room is quiet. The dust muffles the sounds of the outside world. You close your eyes. You hear the song of the fisherman in your head. You hum the melody softly. It is a sad song, but beautiful. You drift. The fire is out of your hands. The dust is outside. You are safe. You sleep. The cycle turns. Days bleed into nights. The moon waxes and wanes. The dust storm passes, replaced by a week of crystal-clear skies where the stars hang like lamps and the cold is sharp as a knife. Then the rains return, brief and violent squalls that wash the salt from the stone. You mark the time by the fuel, the woodpile shrinks, the oil jars empty, the barges come again. You mark the time by the cold, it seeps into your bones and you start wearing 2 tunics. You wrap wool around your feet inside your sandals. One night something changes. You are on the gallery, shivering in the north wind. It is the middle of the shift, the deepest dark. You are looking out at the black water, watching the rhythm of the waves. Then the wind shifts, it drops, swirls and comes in from the south. It hits you, a wall of warmth. It is not the heat of the fire, it is the heat of the land, and it carries a scent that stops you in your tracks. It smells of wet earth, it smells of green things growing, it smells of jasmine and lotus. The scent of the delta in bloom. Spring. It has arrived in the night, carried on the breath of the continent. The winter is breaking, the long, cold vigil is ending. You take a deep breath, filling your lungs with the perfume of flowers and mud. It is intoxicating after months of salt and soak. It smells like life. You look down at the city. It seems to breathe easier too. The lights look warmer. You turn to the fire. It burns just as hot, just as fierce, but it feels less like a survival tool and more like a companion now. You don't have to fight the cold to tend it. You walk around the gallery. You feel a lightness in your step. Your heels have healed. The calluses are thick and protective. The sandals fit perfectly now. You and the leather have come to an agreement. You stop at the eastern rail. You look for the dawn. It comes differently today. The sky softens into a pastel pink, a gentle blue. The sun rises, not as a pale enemy but as a golden friend. It warms your face. The door opens. It is Kale. He is back. He looks nervous, standing in the doorway. The bruise on his head has faded to a yellow smudge. "Sir," he says. "You're early," you say. "I wanted to be ready," he says. He looks at the fire. He respects it now. You can see it in his eyes. The fear has turned to respect. That is good. That is the making of a keeper. The wind has changed, you tell him. Smell it. He sniffs the air. His eyes widen. Flowers. "Spring," you say. You hand him the rod. The fire is steady. The mirror is clean. Watch the oil. "Yes, sir." You walk to the door. You pause. "Kale," you say. "Sir?" "Welcome back." He smiles, a tentative, relieved smile. "Thank you, sir." You descend. The walk down is easy. The air in the stairwell feels different. Less damp, less oppressive. You emerge into the courtyard. The sun is shining. The palm trees are rustling. You walk to the patch of earth near the wall where the donkeys are tied. You kneel down. You take the date pit from your pocket. You dig a small hole with your finger. You drop the seed in. You cover it with dirt. You pour a little water from your flask onto it. Maybe it will grow, maybe it won't, but you have planted it. You stand up, you stretch your arms to the sky. You are tired, yes, but you are not broken. You are the keeper. You have brought the light through the winter. You walk to your room. You leave the door open to let the spring air in. You lie down. The blanket feels too heavy. You push it down to your waist. You close your eyes. You can smell the jasmine. You can hear the birds singing, not the terrified birds of the fog, but the joyous birds of the morning. The world is turning. The light holds, and you are here. You sleep. The spring brings traffic. The sea, which had been a dangerous, lonely place during the winter months, now blooms with sails. The grain fleets from Rome, the merchant cogs from Greece, the exotic traders from the Levant. The harbour fills up, the forest of masts grows dense. Your nights become busy. There are more eyes watching you now. Every night 100 ships orient themselves by your star. You feel the weight of their gaze. You also feel the change in the routine. The days are longer, the nights are shorter. You burn less oil, you sleep less during the day. One evening before your shift, you are sitting in the mess hall. The talk is of the emperor. Rumours of a visit. Rumours of war in the east. Rumours of a new tax. You listen, but you do not engage. Politics is for the ground. A man sits down opposite you. It is the captain of the guard. He is a Roman, scarred and weary, his armour polished but dented. "Keeper," he nods. "Captain," you reply. "They say you see everything up there," he says, pouring wine into a cup. "I see the water. I see the dark. Do you see the pirate fleets?" You pause. "I see shadows. Sometimes they move against the tide." "Oh, Lord." He leans in. "We have reports. Cilician pirates raiding the grain ships. They strike at night under the new moon." "The new moon is in 3 days," you say. "Keep a sharp eye," the captain says. "If you see a ship running without lights, if you see a shadow that shouldn't be there." "What do I do?" you ask. "I have no weapon. I have a lantern." "Signal," he says. 3 rapid eclipses. We will have a trireme on a patrol near the harbour mouth. If you signal, they will intercept." You nod. He eclipses. Good man, he drinks his wine and leaves. You finish your meal, the food sits heavy in your stomach. Pirates, violence, it is invading your sanctuary. The tower is supposed to be above the fray, a neutral star for all men. Now they want to make you a watchtower of war. You dislike it, but you are a servant of the state. You ascend, the night is warm, the breeze is soft. You light the fire, you polish the mirror, you settle in. 3 nights pass. The moon dwindles to a sliver, then vanishes. The new moon. The sea is a black pit. You stand at the railing. You're not looking at the horizon tonight. You're looking at the middle distance, the approach to the harbour. You strain your eyes. It is hard to see anything outside the beam. The light creates a tunnel. Everything outside it is absolute blackness. You wait. The hours tick by. Then you see it. It is just a blotting out of the stars. A shape darker than the water, moving silently across the path of the beam. It is low, sleek, no lanterns, no sails, oars dipping silently. A pirate galley, stalking a fat merchantman that is anchored just outside the breakwater, waiting for the dawn tide. You feel a cold knot in your stomach. You look down at the harbour. The patrol trireme is there, a dark shape near the wall, waiting. You have a choice. You can do nothing. You can let the wolf take the sheep. It is the way of nature. Or you can intervene. You think of the grain, the bread for the city. You think of the sailors on the merchant ship asleep in their hammocks. You move to the shutter. Clang, darkness, open, light, clang, darkness, open, light, clang, darkness, open, light. 3 eclipses. You wait. Down in the harbour, the water churns. The trireme surges forward, oars beating a sudden, furious rhythm. Torches flare on its deck. The pirate ship sees the trap springing. They try to turn. They are fast, but the trireme is a war machine. You watch from your high perch. It is a silent battle from up here. Tiny sparks of light, torches, maybe flaming arrows, arc across the water. You see the collision. The pirate ship is rammed. It is over quickly. You feel sick. You use the light, the holy saving light, as a weapon of war. You lured men to their death. You turn away from the railing. You look at the fire. It burns impartially. It does not care. You sit on the bench. You pick up your whittling. The heron is finished. It looks ready to fly. You put it down. You pick up a new piece of wood. You carve. You try to forget the shadows on the water. You are the keeper. You keep the light, whatever the cost. The night continues. The light burns on, tuiệt voi. Đây là phần tiếp theo của câu chuyện tiếp tục hành trình của người trông coi ngọn hải đăng Alexandria. The sun of Alexandria has changed. In the spring it was a warm hand on your shoulder. Now in the high summer it is a hammer. It strikes the white stone of the Pharos with a violence that seems to make the air shimmer and dance. The heat does not just come from the sky. It radiates from the earth, from the sea, and from the massive limestone blocks of the tower itself. The lighthouse absorbs the sun all day, storing it like a battery, and at night, when the air should be cool, the stones exhale their heat back into the lantern room. You are living inside an oven. Inside an oven. The guilt of the pirate ambush fades, not because you have forgiven yourself, but because the heat makes it impossible to hold on to complex emotions. There is only the sweat. It runs into your eyes, stinging like acid. It drips from your nose. It soaks your tunic within minutes of putting it on. The salt from your own body joins the salt of the sea, creating a crust on your skin that itches constantly. You wake in the afternoon, your room stifling despite the small window. You lie on your cot, naked, a wet cloth draped over your chest. It is too hot to move. The sounds of the city drift up, lazier now, subdued. Even the merchants and the donkeys are slowed by the furnace of the day. You can hear the cicadas in the palace gardens miles away, a high-pitched electric bizz that saws at your nerves. You force yourself to rise. You drink water, a lot of it. The physician has warned all the keepers, piss clear or you die. It is a crude maxim, but true. The heat kills in Alexandria. It takes the old and the weak, drying them out like husks. You are not old, but the tower demands your fluids. You dress in your lightest linen. You check your sandals. The leather is dry and brittle. You rub a little olive oil into the straps to keep them from cracking. You pick up your satchel. The strap leaves a wet mark across your chest. You leave the barracks. The courtyard is blinding. The glare from the white stone is painful. You keep your eyes down, watching your shadow, which is short and sharp. You walk to the cistern. You splash water on your face, on your neck. It evaporates almost instantly, leaving a sensation of coolness that lasts for perhaps 10 seconds. You begin the climb. The interior of the tower is usually a refuge, a cool shaft of shade, but today the air inside is stagnant. It sits heavy and motionless, smelling of old dust and rancid oil. As you climb, you pass through layers of temperature. The bottom is bearable. The middle, where the sun beats on the outer walls, is warm. The top, near the lantern room, is suffocating. You reach the gallery. The bronze door is hot to the touch. You push it open with your shoulder, avoiding using your bare hand on the metal latch. The lantern room is empty. Kyle has gone down already. The fire is banked, a bed of low, sullen coals that add their heat to the misery. But the worst part is not the heat. It is the flies. They are everywhere. Great, fat, iridescent green flies, hatched from the garbage of the city and the rotting seaweed of the harbour. They ride the thermals up the side of the tower, seeking the shelter of the gallery. They buzz against the mirror. They crawl on the railing. They land on your face, your arms, your sweat. You wave your hand lazily. They scatter, only to return a second later. You cannot fight them. You have to ignore them. You have to become a statue that breathes. You check the oil reservoir. The heat has changed the viscosity of the oil. It is thin, watery. It flows too fast. If you're not careful, the fire will flood and flare, wasting fuel and risking the glass. You have to adjust the valve, tightening it to a trickle. You make a mental note. Watch the flow. Watch the flow. You step out onto the balcony. The wind is the kamsin, the hot breath of the desert from the south. It is dry, dusty, and feels like opening the door of a kiln. It offers no relief. It dries your eyes and cracks your lips. You look down at the harbour. The water is a flat metallic blue. The ships are motionless, their sails furled. The crews are sleeping on the decks under awnings. Nothing moves. The world is paralysed by the sun. But you cannot sleep. You have to polish the mirror. You touch the bronze. It is searing hot. You cannot use the usual rag. It would singe. You have to wait for the sun to set, for the metal to cool just enough to touch. So you wait. You sit on the bench in the shade of a column. You close your eyes. You listen to the flies. Bzzzt, bzzzt. You think about the pirate ship, the wreckage washed up on the breakwater for days. Timbers, barrels, bodies. You saw the city guards collecting them. You saw the pyres burning on the beach. You felt a connection to those pyres. You lit the fire that killed them. The guards lit the fire that erased them. Fire is the beginning and the end. Keeper? The voice startles you. It is not a keeper's voice. It is high, cultured, inquisitive. You open your eyes. Standing in the doorway of the stairwell is a man. He is older, dressed in fine robes that are stained with sweat. He carries a scroll case and a strange instrument made of wood and brass. He is panting heavily, his face red from the exertion of the climb. I made it, he gasps, leaning against the doorframe. You stand up slowly. Who are you? Visitors are forbidden. Not forbidden, he wheezes, waving a hand. I have a permit from the prefect. He fumbles in his belt and produces a seal. You look at the seal. It is genuine, the mark of the Roman governor. I am Eudoxus, the man says, straightening up and trying to regain his dignity. Mathematician, astronomer from the library. You nod. You have heard of them. The men who live in the great halls of scrolls, measuring the world without ever getting their hands dirty. What do you want, Eudoxus? The height, he says, eyes gleaming. I need to measure the angle of the star Canopus when it reaches its zenith. This is the highest point in the city, the only point clear of the haze. Canopus rises late, you say. I know, I will wait. He walks onto the gallery, looking around with a mix of awe and distaste. He looks at the fire basket. Crude, he mutters, but effective. He sets up his instrument on the railing. It is a dioptra, a sighting stick with gears. He fusses with it, aligning it with the horizon. You watch him. He is an intruder. This is your sanctuary. He brings the smell of the city, perfume and parchment, into your world of smoke and salt. It is hot up here, Eudoxus complains, wiping his brow with a silk handkerchief. It is summer, you say. The air density is lower, he lectures, not looking at you. The refraction index will be different. I must account for the heat shimmer. He takes out a stylus and a wax tablet. He starts scratching notes. He ignores you completely now. To him, you are part of the machinery, like the winch or the valve. Night falls slowly. The sun drags itself into the sea, leaving a blood-red bruise on the sky. The temperature drops slightly, but the stone retains the heat. The flies settle down. You light the fire. The roar makes Eudoxus jump. He covers his ears. Must it be so loud, he shouts. Fire breathes, you shout back. You begin your rounds. You ignore the astronomer. You polish the mirror, careful not to bump his delicate instrument. You feed the oil, you check the wicks. Around midnight, Eudoxus becomes animated. He is peering through his dioptra, making small adjustments. There, he whispers. There you are. He is looking south, low on the horizon. You look too. You see a bright star twinkling heavily in the thick air. Canopus, the star of the rudder. Beautiful, Eudoxus breathes. The geometry. It's perfect. He scribbles furiously on his tablet. He looks up at you, suddenly needing to share his triumph. Do you know what that star tells us, Keeper? It tells the pilots to steer southeast for the Nile mouth, you say. He scoffs. Navigation? Bah! It tells us the shape of the Earth. If I measure the angle here and my colleague measures it in Rhodes at the same moment, we can calculate the circumference of the world. You look at him. He is measuring the world with a stick. You are keeping the ships off the rocks with a fire. The world is big, you say, and dark. It's not dark, he insists. It is illuminated by reason, by numbers. This tower, it's a triumph of mathematics. The angles of the mirror, the structural load of the arches, it is all math. It is stone, you say, and sweat and oil. He shakes his head, pitying you. You see the matter, I see the form. He packs up his instrument. He has his number. He is done. I must go down, he says. The descent will be easier. Watch your step, you say. The stairs are slick with damp. Yes, yes. He clutches his scroll case. Good night, Keeper. Try to appreciate the stars. They are not just lamps. They are gods of geometry. He disappears into the stairwell. You are alone again. You look at Canopus. It is just a star. It looks cold. You look at your fire. It is hot. It is real. You prefer the fire. The summer drags on. The dog days arrive. Sirius rises with the sun. The Nile begins to flood far to the south, though here you only see the change in the colour of the water outflow, turning brown with silt. The monotony is broken only by the struggle with the elements. One night, a bearing in the wind vane seizes from the dust and heat. You have to climb up onto the roof of the lantern room, a curved dome of stone above the fire. It is a terrifying climb. You're exposed to the open sky, 300 cubits up. The wind is stronger here. You cling to the bronze finial, your feet slipping on the smooth stone. You grease the bearing with animal fat. You look down. The gallery below looks tiny. The ground is invisible. If you fall, you will have time to say a prayer before you hit the water. You finish the job. You slide back down to the gallery, your heart pounding. You feel alive. The fear breaks the numbness of the heat. Then comes the night of the sickness. It hits you an hour after sunset. A cramp in your gut, sharp and twisting, then the nausea. You double over, clutching the railing. It must have been the water, or the cheese, or just the heat. You vomit over the side of the gallery. Your body shakes. You are dizzy. The world spins. The stars, the fire, the sea, all mixing in a carousel of light. You stumble to the bench. You sit down, head between your knees. You are cold and hot at the same time. You cannot work. You cannot stand. But the fire needs oil. You look at the reservoir. It is half full. It will last an hour, maybe two. You have to get up. You try. Your legs buckle. You fall to your knees on the stone floor. The stone is hard and unforgiving. You crawl. You crawl to the oil amphorae. You grab one. It is heavy. You cannot lift it. You drag it across the floor. The sound of the clay scraping on stone is loud in the quiet night. Scrape, scrape. You reach the reservoir. You have to lift it up to the lip of the tank. It is waist high. You grit your teeth. You summon every ounce of strength. You lift, you groan, your stomach spasms. You get the lip of the jar over the edge. You tip it. The oil flows. You drop the jar. It shatters on the floor. You collapse. You lie there, cheeked against the stone, breathing the fumes of the spilled oil. You watch the fire. It is burning. It is safe. You drift in and out of consciousness. Fever dreams assault you. You see the astronomer Eudoxus, but he is a giant, measuring you with his stick. He tells you that you are mathematically insignificant. You see the pirates, their faces melting like wax. You see the heron you carved, flying in circles around the flame. "Get up," a voice says. "Is it a god? Get up, Andreas. It is not a god, it is Milo. He is there, standing over you. It is dawn. He has come for the relief. He sees the shattered jar. He sees your pale face, the vomit on your tunic. He drops his satchel. He kneels beside you. He touches your forehead. "You're burning up," he says. "The fire," you whisper. "The fire is fine," he says. "You fed it." He lifts you. He is strong, Milo. He half carries you to the door. "I can't. The stairs are..." Mumble. "I'll help you," he says. The descent is a blur. A nightmare of endless spiraling steps. You vomit again on the 50th step. Milo does not complain. He wipes your mouth. He keeps you moving. You reach the barracks. He puts you to bed. He brings water. "Sleep," he commands. "I'll tell the captain you have the fever. I'll take a double shift." "The mirror? I'll polish the damn mirrors." You sleep for 2 days. It is a black, feverish sleep. When you wake, you are weak as a kitten. The fever has broken. You are hungry. You sit up. Kael is there, sitting on a stool watching you. "Sir," he says. "Water," you croak. He brings it. You drink. It is cool. "Milo," you ask. "He's sleeping," Kael says. "He did 2 nights. I did the for fuel." "The light?" "It never went out," Kael says proudly. You nod. You lie back. You feel a strange emotion. Gratitude? No. Connection. You are not alone. You thought you were the Atlas holding up the sky, but you are just one link in a chain. If you break, the chain holds. Milo holds. Kael holds. The realization is humbling. It makes you feel smaller but lighter. The tower does not belong to you. You belong to the tower, and so do they. You recover. It takes a week before you can climb again. When you do, the summer is breaking. The air is changing, the humidity drops, the wind shifts to the north, the Artesian winds, cool, steady, reliable. You reach the top. Milo is there. He looks tired, dark circles under his eyes. "You look better," he says. "I feel better," you say. "Thank you." He shrugs. "You'd do it for me." "I would." You take the rod, you take the watch. The night is crisp, the haze is gone, the stars are sharp again. You look at the mirror. It is polished perfectly. Milo did a good job. You look at the fire. It roars comfortably, fed by the cool northern draft. You walk to the railing. You look down at the sea. The traffic is heavy. The grain fleet is leaving for Rome tomorrow. Hundreds of ships, heavy with the harvest of the Nile. They are anchored in rows, their lanterns bobbing. You feel a sense of purpose return. The fever burned away the guilt, the boredom, the heat madness. You are cleansed. You are ready for the autumn. You pick up your knife. You pick up a piece of wood you start to carve. A ship this time, a sturdy grain hauler. You carve and you watch. The light holds. Autumn brings the storms, but not the cold rain of winter. These are the electrical storms of the equinox. One night the sky turns a bruised purple. The air feels heavy, charged with static. The hair on your arm stands up. You can taste metal in your mouth. Thunder rolls, not from the distance, but from right above you. It sounds like stones grinding together. You know the danger. The tower is the highest point for miles. It is a lightning rod. There is a statue of Zeus Sota on the very apex of the tower above the lantern roof. A bronze giant holding a thunderbolt. You wonder if he attracts his own element. The storm breaks. Lightning forks down, jagged and blinding. Crack boom! A bolt strikes the sea just a mile out. The water hisses. You stand back from the railing. You do not touch the bronze mirror. Metal attracts the strike. You watch the fire. It looks small compared to the violence of the sky. Then it happens. A flash of white light so intense it blinds you. A sound like a whip crack inside your skull. The tower shakes. You are thrown to the floor. The concussion wave hits you. Silence. Your ears are ringing. A high-pitched little whine. You blink, you see spots of purple and green. You scramble up. Are you alive? Yes. You check the fire, it is still burning. You look up at the roof. Smoke is curling from the vent. Not wood smoke, the smell of ozone and melted copper. The tower was hit. You run to the gallery. You look up at the statue of Zeus. It is glowing. St. Elmo's fire, blue plasma dancing on the bronze tips of the statue's thunderbolt. It looks terrifying and beautiful. You run down the internal ladder to the level below the lantern. You check the structural beams, the limestone blocks. You see a crack, a hairline fracture running through a massive block of white stone. It wasn't there yesterday. You run your hand over it. It is warm. The lightning travelled through the statue, down the core, through the stone. The tower is wounded. You return to the lantern room. You're shaken. You realise that for all its size, for all its permanence, the Pharos is fragile. It can be hurt. It is mortal. You tend the fire with a new tenderness. You are nursing a wounded giant. The storm passes, the stars return. You write in the logbook, a rare entry. Usually you just mark the oil consumption. Tonight you write Zeus struck his own house. The stone cracked. The light remains. You close the book. You look out at the dark. You are the keeper. You are the nurse. You are the witness. And the night goes on. The crack in the limestone, a jagged souvenir from the lightning bolt, becomes the centre of your world for the next week. It is a hairline fracture, barely the width of a fingernail, running vertically through the block on the northeast corner of the lantern support. To the untrained eye, it is nothing, a spiderweb in the grain of the mountain. To you it is a wound. You can feel the draft whistling through it, a thin, high-pitched keen that harmonises dismally with the wind. The architects arrive from the mainland 3 days later. They are serious men in clean tunics, carrying plumb lines, squares, and pots of strange, pungent paste. They do not look at the fire, they look at the stone. They tap the block with small hammers. Ting, ting, thud. The thud is bad. It means the stone is separated deep inside. You stand back, arms crossed, watching them work. It feels like watching surgeons operate on your own limb. They debate in low, rapid Greek, discussing load-bearing vectors and compression stress. You do not understand the math, but you understand the gravity. They decide to staple the wound. It is a violent process. They drill holes into the white stone using a bow drill, the string singing as the bit bites into the rock. Stone dust flies, coating the gallery in a fine white powder that tastes of chalk. Then they heat lead in a small crucible over a charcoal brazier. The smell of the melting lead is metallic and heavy, sitting in the back of your throat. They place iron clamps, massive staples shaped like the letter U, into the holes. Then they pour the molten lead. It hisses as it hits the cold stone, sealing the iron in place, binding the fractured block together with a grip that will outlast the Empire. When these are done, the crack is gone, hidden behind a smear of white mortar. But the iron staples remain visible, dark stitches in the pale flesh of the tower. You run your hand over the repair after they leave. The lead is still warm. The stone is silent. The whistling has stopped. The tower is healed, but it is scarred. It is no longer perfect. It is a veteran. The architects leave you with instructions. Watch for shifting. If the mortar cracks, send word immediately. So now you have a new duty. Every night before you light the fire, you inspect the scar, you press your thumb against the mortar. You hold your breath, checking for the draft. It holds. The iron holds. Winter returns. It creeps in not with a bang, but with a slow, relentless grey. The sky lowers. The sea turns the colour of slate. The air loses its warmth, stripping away the memories of the jasmine-scented spring and the furnace-hot summer. The cold this year feels deeper, seeping into your joints with a new familiarity. Your knees ache when the pressure drops. Your knuckles stiffen around the handle of the oil jug. You're aging in sync with the stone. The routine shifts back to the winter protocol. Heavier tunics, woolen socks, double rations of oil for the fire to combat the freezing damp, the return of the solitude. The ships are fewer now, only the brave or the desperate venturing out into the winter Mediterranean. The harbour is a forest of masts, safe behind the breakwater, sleeping until spring. But the light must burn. Even if the ocean is empty, the light must burn. It is the promise. One night the wind shifts to the northwest, the Mistral direction. It brings hail. It starts as a rattling sound, like dry beans shaken in a gourd. Then it escalates to a roar. Ice stones, some the size of olives, bombard the tower. They strike the gallery floor, bouncing and skittering like marbles. They hammer against the bronze reflector hood, creating a deafening metallic drum roll. Clang, rattle, clang. You retreat to the lee side of the central pillar. You wrap your cloak over your head. You can feel the vibrations of the impacts through the soles of your sandals. Then you hear a sound that stops your heart. A sharp crack, distinct from the dull thuds of the ice. It comes from the window screens. The Pharos is not open to the elements. The fire is protected by great screens of mica and thin, transparent alabaster, set into bronze frames to shield the flame from the wind while letting the light pass. These panes are precious, brought from mines deep in the east. You rush to the windward side, shielding your face with your arm. The hail stings your skin like thrown gravel. You see it. One of the large mica panes has shattered. A hole the size of a fist has been punched through, and cracks are radiating out like a starburst. The wind is screaming through the breach, funneling a jet of freezing air and ice straight at the fire. The flame flutters violently, leaning away from the draft, smoke billowing back into the room. If the pane gives way completely, the wind will extinguish the fire, or worse, blow the embers onto the oil stores. You have to seal it. You grab the emergency storm board, a heavy plank of oak kept for this exact nightmare. You shout for Kale, but the wind swallows your voice. You're on your own. You wrestle the board towards the window. The wind fighting through the hole is a physical force pushing the board back at you. It is like wrestling an invisible wrestler. You plant your feet, you grit your teeth, you slam the board against the frame, covering the broken pane. Darkness falls on that side of the gallery as the light is blocked. But the board won't stay, the wind is battering it. You need to wedge it. You grab a spare log from the fuel pile, you jam it between the board and the central pillar, creating a primitive brace. It holds. The screaming wind is silenced, reduced to a muffled thudding against the wood. The fire steadies, the smoke clears. You sink to the floor, panting, your hands are shaking. You look at the boarded-up window. It is a patch, a blind spot in the eye of the lighthouse. For tonight, a sector of the sea to the northwest will be dark. There is nothing you can do. Better a blind spot than a dead fire. You spend the rest of the night watching the brace. The hail turns to rain, then to snow, a rare, magical event in Alexandria. Wet, heavy flakes that melt as soon as they hit the hot stone of the gallery. You watch them fall, hissing into steam. The next morning, the repair crew arrives. Replacing a mica pane is delicate work. They have to chip out the old putty, remove the shards, and set the new sheet. You watch them work, dangling in harnesses on the outside of the tower, 300 feet above the crashing waves. They look like spiders spinning a web of bronze and glass. When they are done, the light is whole again. The view is clear, but you feel the fragility of it all. Stone cracks, mica shatters, iron rusts, only the work remains constant. The deep winter settles in. The nights are long, stretching to 14 hours of darkness. You live in the dark. You become a creature of the night, blinking painfully when the sun rises. Your skin grows pale, pasty like the dough of unbaked bread. To pass the endless hours, you and Milo begin a game. It is a game of memory. Describe a tree, Milo says one night, whittling a piece of cedar. A palm, you say, tall, rough bark like scales, fronds that rattle in the wind, dates that hang in heavy orange clusters. No, Milo says, an oak. Describe an oak. You pause. You haven't seen an oak tree in years. They do not grow here. You close your eyes, reaching back into your childhood memories before the tower. Thick trunk, you say slowly. Moss on the north side, leaves that turn gold and crunch underfoot, acorns that smell of wet earth. Good, Milo says. Now describe a horse. You describe a horse, then a river, then a woman. It keeps your mind tethered to the world below. It reminds you that there are things other than stone, fire, oil and sea. One night in the dead of January, the sea goes quiet. The wind drops completely. The water is so calm it reflects the stars perfectly, creating the illusion that the tower is floating in the center of a sphere of space. You're polishing the mirror, always polishing when you hear it. A low moaning sound, deep, resonant. It vibrates in your chest more than in your ears. You stop, you look at Kael, he has heard it too. His eyes are wide. What is that, he whispers, a ghost? No, you say. You move to the railing, you lean out over the abyss. The sound comes again, rising, falling, a mournful, beautiful melody that drifts up from the water. Whales, you say softly. They are passing the tower. Giants of the deep migrating through the calm waters. You cannot see them, they are hidden in the black water, but you can hear their song. They are singing to each other, communicating across miles of ocean. You listen. It is a song of immense loneliness and immense connection. It is the song of the lighthouse translated into water. They are like us, Kael says, standing beside you, calling out in the dark. Yes, you say, they are exactly like us. You listen for an hour until the song fades to the west. You feel a strange sense of peace. You are not the only watcher. The ocean has its own keepers. As spring approaches, a new problem rises. It is the mirror. You notice it first as a slight dullness in the reflection. You rub it harder, using more oil and finer sand. It gleams for a moment, then fades back to a milky haze. It is not dirt, it is the bronze itself. Years of heat, salt air and smoke have caused deep oxidation. The metal is tired. It is losing its soul. The light is dimming, you can see it. The beam does not cut as sharply, it diffuses, scattering its energy. You report it to the prefect. A week later, the master polisher arrives. He is a dwarf, broad-shouldered and grim, with hands that feel like sandpaper. He inspects the mirror, running his rough palms over the curve. Pitting, he grunts, deep pitting, it needs a resurfacing. Resurfacing? We have to grind it down, strip the top layer of metal, create a new surface. It is a massive undertaking. It cannot be done during the day. The sun on the mirror would blind the workers. It must be done at night while the fire is burning. For 3 nights, the tower becomes a workshop. The master and his assistants set up scaffolding around the mirror. They use blocks of pumice stone, grinding the bronze with a horrific screeching sound that sets your teeth on edge. Scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch. Dust, fine bronze dust, fills the air. It tastes of pennies. It coats your skin, turning you into a golden statue. You have to wear a cloth over your mouth to breathe. You tend the fire while they work. It is a surreal scene. The roaring flames, the screaming metal, the golden dust swirling in the light. After the pumice comes the sandstone. Finer, smoother, the screeching turns to a hiss. After the sandstone comes the emery powder mixed with oil. The hiss turns to a whisper. Finally, on the 3rd night, they use the burnishers. Smooth agate stones and soft leather pads. They rub and rub and rub them. When they step back, the mirror is reborn. It is terrifyingly clear. You look into it and see every pore on your face, every grey hair in your beard, every line of fatigue around your eyes. It is a mirror of truth. The master polisher nods. It will hold for another 10 years. He packs his tools and leaves. You are left with his new mirror. When you light the fire that night, the difference is shocking. The beam is a solid, blinding lance of energy. It hits the clouds miles away. It feels like you're wielding a weapon of the gods. You feel a surge of pride, the eye is clear, the vision is restored. But the restoration of the mirror highlights your own lack of renewal. The bronze can be ground down and made new. You cannot. The years are etched into you, not as oxidation, but as memory and ache. You sit on the bench, watching the perfect reflection of the fire. You touch your own face. The skin is weathered, leathery like the old sandals. 10 years, you whisper. Will I be here in 10 years? You do not know the answer. You only know tonight. The spring equinox arrives. The day and night are equal. The balance is restored. You walk down the stairs one morning feeling the change in the air. The heavy damp of winter is lifting. The smell of the sea is fresher, cleaner. You exit the tower and walk to the small patch of earth in the courtyard. You look at the spot where you planted the date pit a year ago. There is nothing. No sprout, no green shoot, just the dry, packed earth. You feel a pang of disappointment, sharp and childish. You wanted a sign, you wanted life to answer you. You kneel down, you dig with your finger, you find the pit. It is still there, hard, brown, dormant. It has not rotted, but it has not grown. It is waiting. Stubborn, you murmur. Like me. You cover it up again, you pour water on it, you do not give up. A keeper does not give up. You wait. You walk to the quay to watch the ships. The spring fleet is arriving. The harbour is waking up. You see a ship docking, a small coaster from Cyprus. A man jumps off carrying a bundle. He sees you standing there, watching. "Keeper!" he calls out. You nod. "We saw the light," he shouts, grinning. 30 miles out, clear as the moon. It guided us through the squall off the delta. The mirror is new, you say. "It is a miracle," he says. He reaches into his bundle. "Here, for the light." He tosses you something. You catch it. It is a pomegranate, heavy red leathery skin. "Thank you," you say. He waves and runs off to the customs house. You hold the fruit. It is cool and heavy, a gift from the world below, acknowledgement. You walk back to the tower. You sit on the stone bench outside the barracks. You take your knife. You slice the pomegranate open. The juice runs red like blood over your fingers. The seeds are like rubies. You eat one. It is tart, sweet, explosive. It tastes of the sun. It tastes of the earth. You look up at the tower. It stands white and silent against the blue sky. It is a machine. It is a monster. It is a god. But it needs you. It needs the man to eat the fruit, to feel the cold, to sweep the moths, to sand the soot. Without you, it's just a pile of rocks. You eat another seed. You wipe your hands on your tunic. You're ready for another year. You stand up, you go inside, you sleep. Time accelerates. The years begin to blur, losing their distinct edges. You stop counting the barges. You stop counting the storms. They merge into a continuous stream of sensation, heat, cold, wind, calm, oil, fire. Kyle is no longer a boy. He is a man. His shoulders are broad, his hands calloused. He moves with the same economy of motion that you do. He anticipates the fire's needs before you speak. He is becoming the tower. Milo's getting old, his limp is worse. He complains of the damp. He talks about retiring, about a small farm near Lake Mariotis. "Chickens," he says. "I want to watch chickens, not waves." You listen, but you cannot imagine it. What is a life without the climb? What is a night without the vigil? One night a heavy fog rolls in. It is dense, suffocating. You're working the bellows, a new addition, installed to help the fire breathe in heavy air. You're pumping the handle, whoosh, whoosh, forcing air into the coals. You hear a sound on the stairs, slow, heavy. Milo. He enters the lantern room. He looks grey. He's clutching his chest. "Milo," you say, stopping the bellows. He sinks onto the bench. He tries to smile, but it is a grimace. "The stairs," he gasps. "They are longer tonight." You rush to him. You loosen his tunic. His skin is cold and clammy. "Rest," you say, "just rest." "The oil," he whispers. "I didn't check the reserve." "I checked it," you lie. "It's full. Rest." He leans his head back against the stone column. He looks up at the fire. The reflection dances in his eyes. "It's so bright," he says. "Yes," you say. "It's the best light in the world." "Chickens," he whispers. Then he lets out a long breath and stops. The silence in the room is absolute. The fire crackles loud and indifferent. The wind moans outside. You hold his hand. It is rough, stained with soot and oil. The hand of a keeper. You do not weep. Not yet. You check his pulse. There is nothing. Milo is gone. He died in the sky.
All quiet on the causeway. Good.
You stand up. You look at the fire. It needs tending. You check the oil. You polish the mirror. You work around the body of your friend. It's not disrespect. It is duty. He would have done the same. The light cannot stop for grief. When the dawn comes, you carry him down. It is difficult. Kyle helps you. You carry him between you, step by step, down the spiral. The descent feels endless. You lay him in the infirmary. You cover him with a sheet. "He was a good keeper," Kyle says, his voice thick. "The best," you say. You walk out into the courtyard. The sun is rising. The world is going on. You feel a hole in the universe, a Milo-shaped hole. You walk to the date pit. You look down. A tiny green shoot has broken the earth. 2 small leaves unfurling towards the sun. Life, death, the cycle. You fall to your knees. You touch the green shoot with a trembling finger. You weep. Finally you weep. You cry for Milo. You cry for the years. You cry for the beauty of the green leaf in the dust. You cry until you are empty. Then you stand up. You wipe your face. You look at the tower. It is waiting. The night will come. Kyle will take the watch. You will take the watch. You are the senior keeper now. You are the old man of the tower. You walk to your room. You have to sleep. You have to be ready. The light holds. The funeral for Milo is simple. A pyre on the beach facing the sea he watched for 40 years. It feels fitting to send him off with fire. As the flames consume the wood, the smoke rises straight up in the still morning air, a grey column that seems to nod to the white tower behind it. You watch until the embers fade to ash. You pour a libation of wine into the sand. "Smooth sailing, brother," you whisper. Then you turn your back on the sea and return to the stone. The tower feels different without him. It is quieter. The spaces he filled with his grumbling and his whittling seem vast and empty. Kale steps up, taking Milo's shift, but the rhythm is broken. You have to train a new boy, a terrified lad from the Delta named Sostrates. He is clumsy, dropping oil jars and flinching at the roar of the fire. You have to be patient. You have to be the teacher now, the voice of wisdom, just as the old man with the one eye was for you. The fire is not your enemy, you tell Sostrates one night as he cowers from a sudden flare. It is a beast you must ride. Do not fear it. Respect it. He nods, eyes wide, not understanding. He will learn, or he will leave. The tower sorts them out. Years slide by like sand through an hourglass. Your beard turns grey, then white. The ache in your knees becomes a permanent companion, a dull thrumming that predicts the rain better than any barometer. You start using a cane to walk the causeway, though you leave it at the bottom of the stairs. A keeper does not climb with a cane. You become a legend in the port. The sailors call you the old man of the light. They say you have eyes that can see in the dark and that you drink oil instead of wine. You hear the stories and you smile. If only they knew. You're just a man who is tired, who smells of soot and who loves a piece of driftwood more than gold. One summer the Emperor arrives. Not a rumour this time. The harbour is cleared. The great imperial barge, purple-sailed and gilded, glides in surrounded by a fleet of triremes. The city goes mad with pageantry. There are parades, feasts, games. You watch it all from the gallery. It looks like a play performed by ants. On the third day, a messenger arrives at the tower. You are summoned. The Emperor wishes to see the view. Panic in the barracks. The floors are scrubbed. The oil jars are aligned. You put on your best tunic, the one you save for festivals. You trim your beard. The entourage arrives. Soldiers, slaves, courtiers, and in the centre, the Emperor Hadrian. He is a bearded man, intense and curious, lover of architecture. He refuses the litter. He climbs the stairs himself. You walk behind him, matching his pace. He is fit for a ruler, but the tower tests him. He pauses at the landings, pretending to admire the masonry while he catches his breath. When he reaches the lantern room, he does not look at the view. He looks at the mirror. He looks at the fire basket. He looks at the vent system. "Ingenious," he murmurs. He turns to you. "You are the keeper." "I am, Caesar." "How long?" 30 years, Caesar." He looks at you closely. 30 years in the sky. Do you not miss the earth? The earth is noisy, Caesar. Up here there is only the wind and the duty. He smiles. "A philosopher. Good. The empire needs men who can keep a vigil." He walks to the railing. He looks out at his dominion. The city, the sea, the desert. It is all his. But for this moment, standing on your gallery, he is just a guest in your house. "It is high," he says softly. "From here, the problems of Rome look very small." "That's the trick of the tower," you say. "It gives perspective." He nods. He takes a ring from his finger. It is gold set with a carnelian intaglio of a lion. He presses it into your hand. "For the perspective," he says. He leaves. You look at the ring. It is worth more than a lifetime of wages. You put it in your satchel, wrapped in a rag. You will not sell it. You will keep it. A souvenir of the day the world came to visit the sky. The end comes not with a bang, but with a whisper. It is a night in late autumn. The air is cool and clear. The fire is burning perfectly. You are sitting on the bench, whittling. The heron is long finished. Now you are carving a lighthouse, a miniature tower of wood. You stand up to check the wicks. You feel a sudden dizziness, a flutter in your chest, like a bird trapped in a cage. Your vision greys at the edges. You grab the railing to steady yourself. The stone feels very cold. The flutter becomes a squeeze, a tight iron band around your ribs. You sit down heavily. You try to breathe. The air is thin. Kale, no, he is the senior keeper now. Sostrates is on the shift with you. He is watching you. Sir, he asks, are you ill? Just tired, you gasp. The stairs? But you know it is not the stairs, it is the end. The engine is failing. Sostrates, you say, your voice is a wheeze. The oil. Check the flow. The flow is good, sir. The mirror, wipe it. I wiped it 10 minutes ago. Do it again. He moves to obey. You watch him. He is a good keeper. He is steady. The pain in your chest eases slightly, replaced by a strange numbness. Your hands feel distant, as if they belong to someone else. You look at them. They are old hands, spotted, scarred, shaped by the work. They have hauled a mountain of wood. They have poured a river of oil. They have polished a sea of bronze. They are good hands. You close your eyes. You can hear the fire. Roar, crackle, hiss. It is a lullaby. You can hear the wind singing in the vents. You can hear the waves far below. You think of the date palm in the courtyard. It is taller than you now. It bore fruit this year. A small cluster of sweet brown dates. You ate one. It tasted of victory. You think of the ship you saved with the shutter. You think of the birds in the fog. You think of Milo. You are not afraid. You have lived in the light. You have served the light. Sostratus, you whisper. He comes to you. He sees your face. He knows. Sir? The log, you say. Write it down. Write what, sir? The light held, you say. All night, the light held. He takes your hand. I will write it. You lean your head back against the stone. The warmth of the fire is fading, or perhaps it is your own warmth. The light of the room is getting brighter, blindingly bright, white and pure. Is it the mirror? Is it the sun? No, it is something else. You see a ship sailing towards you on a sea of glass. The sails are white, the prow is gold. It is coming to take you home. You take one last breath. It smells of smoke and salt and jasmine. You let go. Epilogue. The tower stands. The sun rises over Alexandria, indifferent to the passing of one man. The city wakes up, the carts roll, the merchants shout. In the courtyard, the date palm rustles in the morning breeze. Up in the lantern room, Sostrates banks the fire. He wipes his eyes with a soot-stained hand. He picks up the small wooden lighthouse from the bench. It is unfinished, rough-hewn, but the shape is true. He puts it in his pocket. He walks to the logbook. He dips the quill in the ink. He writes the date. He writes the wind direction, northwest moderate. He writes the oil consumption, 4 jars. Then he pauses. He looks at the empty bench. He writes, Andreas, keeper of the great light, completed his watch. He closes the book. He walks to the gallery railing. He looks out at the sea. It is vast and blue and endless. He takes a deep breath. He turns back to the mirror. There is soot on the lens. He picks up the rag. Rub, wipe, polish. The work continues. The mourning period for a lighthouse keeper is not measured in days or tears, but in shifts. It is measured in the rotations of the great mirror and the consumption of the oil. You, Sostrates, are no longer the apprentice. You are the keeper. The title sits heavy on your shoulders, heavier than the amphora you hauled for years. The barracks feel too quiet. The stone bench in the lantern room feels too big. You have taken the small wooden lighthouse Andreas carved. You placed it on the shelf in your room next to the small clay lamp. It is your totem, a reminder that the work is what matters, not the man. The first month is the hardest. You catch yourself turning to ask him a question. Is the wind shifting? Is the oil too thick? Only to find empty air and the silent judging presence of the fire. You have to answer your own questions now. You have to trust your own gut. You realize with a sudden jolt of fear that you are the final authority. If the light fails, there is no one to fix it but you. You hire a new boy. His name is Heron. He is thin, eager, and clumsy, just as you were. He drops a dipper of water on his first night. He burns his finger on the brazier. You want to shout at him, to banish him from the tower. But then you hear Andreas' voice in your head. The tower sorts them out. You take a breath. You show him how to wrap the burn in a wet cloth. You show him how to hold the dipper. The cycle restarts. The world below is changing. The peace of the harbour is fraying. There are riots in the Jewish quarter. There are soldiers marching in the streets more often. The grain shipments are delayed. The empire is stretching, thinning, cracking like old parchment. You feel this decline in the supplies. The oil that arrives on the barges is no longer the first pressing clear gold that Andreas demanded. It is darker, cloudier. It smells of dregs. This is Slud, you tell the supply master, a new man named Gaius who wears too many rings and has soft hands. It is standard issue, Gaius sneers, looking at your soot-stained tunic with disdain. The legions need the best oil. The lighthouse gets the reserve. The light will sway you warn him. The mirror will cloud. Then clean it more often, Gaius shrugs. Do your job, keeper. You want to hit him. You want to drag him up the 300 cubits and make him scrub the soot from the hood. But you do not. You are the keeper. You do not fight with clerks. You fight with the dark. So you adapt. The bad oil burns hotter and dirtier. It produces a thick, greasy smoke that coats everything in hours. You have to change the cleaning schedule. Instead of wiping the mirror every hour, you wipe it every 30 minutes. Instead of scrubbing the hood once a month, you scrub it every week. Your hands are permanently stained black. The skin around your fingernails is cracked and bleeding from the harsh lye soap you use, but the light holds. You force it to hold. You cheat the physics of the bad oil by adjusting the airflow, by trimming the wicks constantly. You become a virtuoso of garbage fuel. One night, a delegation of priests from the Temple of Serapis climbs the tower. They are robed in white, smelling of incense. They have come to bless the light. They stand on the gallery, chanting prayers to the sea gods. They sprinkle holy water on the fire. You watch them from the shadows. You do not interrupt, but you worry about the water hitting the hot iron. The god Serapis guides the ships, the high priest declares, looking at you. The fire guides the ships, you say quietly. The priest frowns. The fire is the instrument of the god. The fire is the instrument of the oil, you correct him. And the oil is bad this month. Pray for better oil, father. They leave, offended. You do not care. You have a mirror to polish. The seasons turn. You grow into the role. You stop hearing Andreas's voice and start hearing your own. You develop your own superstitions. You never step on the third step of the final landing. You always tap the oil lever twice before opening it. You always whistle a specific tune when the wind blows from the west. Heron grows too. He fills out. He stops dropping things. He learns the rhythm. He becomes a partner, not a burden. Then comes the year of the earthquake. It is summer. The air is still and stifling, the kind of weather that Andreas used to say bodes ill. You're on the dawn shift, banking the fire. Heron is sleeping below. It starts with a sound, not a rumble, but a deep, sickening groan from the earth itself. It sounds like the island is screaming. Then the shaking hits. It is violent and vertical. The floor of the lantern room jumps up, hitting the soles of your feet. You're thrown against the column. The oil in the reservoir sloshes wildly, spilling over the rim, splashing onto the hot coals. Flare. The spilled oil catches instantly. A sheet of fire leaps up, not in the basket, but on the floor. Fire! You scream, though there is no one to hear. The tower is swaying. It is a terrifying sensation, thousands of tons of stone swinging like a pendulum. The amplitude is small, but the leverage is massive. You can hear the limestone blocks grinding against each other, a sound like gnashing teeth. You have to kill the fire on the floor before it reaches the reserve tanks. If the tanks catch, the top of the tower will become a bomb. You grab the sand bucket. The floor is dancing under you. You stumble, slide, fall, you crawl towards the flames, you throw the sand, it smothers the patch of burning oil. But the swaying continues, left, right, left, right. You hear a crash from above, you look up, the statue of Zeus. The bronze giant on the roof has broken loose from its moorings. With a deafening screech of tearing metal, it topples. You instinctively cover your head. Boom! The statue hits the gallery roof, then slides off, plummeting down into the abyss. You do not hear it hit the water. The sound of the earthquake drowns it out. Then, as quickly as it started, the shaking stops. The silence that follows is heavy with dust. Plaster falls from the ceiling in a white rain. The fire in the basket is still burning miraculously. The fire on the floor is out. You stand up, your legs shaking uncontrollably. You run to the railing. You look down. The city is in chaos. A cloud of dust rises from the harbour district. Several warehouses have collapsed. People are screaming, tiny ants scurrying in the wreckage. You look for the statue. You see the splash in the water, the ripples spreading out. The god has fallen. Zeus is in the sea. You run to the stairs. You have to check the structure. You have to check Heron. You meet him halfway up. He's pale, terrified. "I thought it was the end," he gasps. "The walls, they moved." "The tower is built to move," you say, trying to sound confident. "It is flexible, like a tree." "Is the light out?" "The light burns," you say, "but Zeus is gone." You spend the next week assessing the damage. It is severe. The lantern room has shifted on its axis by a fraction of an inch. The door no longer closes properly. You have to shave the wood to make it fit. There are new cracks in the masonry, deep spiderwebs that need more staples, more lead. But the worst damage is to the morale. The city sees the fallen statue as an omen. The gods have abandoned Alexandria. The harbour traffic drops. Captains are afraid to sail. You feel it too. The tower feels less invincible. You realise that you are living on top of a stack of rocks that the earth wants to reclaim. But you do not leave. You are the keeper. The years following the earthquake are the years of the patchwork tower. The imperial funds for repair are non-existent. The emperor is fighting wars on the Danube. He has no gold for lighthouses in Egypt. So you repair it yourself. You use tar to seal the cracks. You use salvaged timber to brace the gallery railing. You replace the shattered mica panes with cheaper, cloudier glass because that is all you can afford. The tower begins to look ragged. It loses its gleaming white perfection. It becomes grey, scarred, weathered. But inside, the machine still works. You make it work. One night you are sitting on the bench rubbing your aching knees. You are old now, older than Andreas was. You look at the mirror. It is scratched. The resurfacing done years ago has worn off. It needs the master polisher again. But there is no master polisher coming. There is no budget. You take your rag, you dip it in the rouge, the red polishing powder. You start to rub. You rub for hours. You rub until your shoulder screams. You're trying to fight entropy with your bare hands. You realize the futility of it. The tower is dying, slowly, grindingly. It is dying of neglect. But not tonight. Not tonight, you whisper to the bronze. Tonight you shine. And it does. It shines. Dimmer than before, perhaps, yellower, but it shines. Then comes the era of the zealots. The world has changed again. The old gods are being hunted. A new god has arrived, the Christ. His followers are passionate, angry, and numerous. They see the temples as houses of demons. They see the statues as idols. The Pharos has always been neutral. It serves the ship, not the faith. But the zealots do not see nuance. They see a tower topped formally by Zeus, covered in carvings of Tritons and Poseidons. They see a monument to the pagan past. One evening a mob gathers at the base of the causeway. They carry torches, not to light the way, but to burn. They are shouting, "Down with the idols! Purify the city!" You watch them from the top. You're 80 years old, you can barely walk. Heron is the senior keeper now, and you are the old man, kept on out of respect and because you have nowhere else to go. "They're coming," Heron says, looking down. He's afraid. "They cannot burn stone," you say. "They can burn the fuel, they can smash the mirror. Lock the door," you say. The great bronze door at the base. Bar it. It won't hold them forever. It will hold them long enough. The mob reaches the base. You hear the thudding of battering rams. Boom. Boom. The tower vibrates. You sit on your bench. You look at the fire. It is innocent. It is just oxidation. It saves Christian lives and pagan lives equally. The storm does not check your religion before it drowns you. Why can they not see that? You stand up, you take your cane. "Help me down," you say to Heron. "Sir, you cannot go down, it is suicide." "I will not hide in the attic while they break my house," you say. "Help me down." Heron protests, but he obeys. He supports your weight. The descent takes an eternity. Your legs are trembling. Your heart is fluttering like a trapped moth. You reach the entrance hall. The great door is booming. Dust is falling from the hinges. The bar is bending. "Open it," you say.
"Sir."
"Open it. If they break it, we can never repair it. If we open it, we can speak." Heron looks at you. He sees the resolve in your watery eyes. He nods. He lifts the heavy iron bar. He unlocks the mechanism. He pulls the door open. The noise of the mob rushes in like a wave. They are screaming, ready to storm. But they stop. They see an old man, a skeleton wrapped in a tunic leaning on a cane. A man whose skin is stained black with soot, whose eyes are milky with cataracts, whose beard is white as the sea foam. You step forward, you raise your cane. "Silence!" you croak. It is not a shout, it is a command, it is the voice of the tower. The front row of the mob hesitates. They are young men, angry men, but they are Alexandrians. They know the legend of the old man. "We come to cleanse this," say. Leader shouts, brandishing a hammer. "It is a temple of demons!" "It is a lamp," you say. Your voice is steady. "It is a lamp for your brothers on the sea. Do Christians not sail? Do Christians not drown?" The leader sneers. "It honors the false gods." "It honors the light," you say. "Look at my hands." You hold them out. They are gnarled black claws. "This is not the soot of sacrifice," you say. "This is the soot of work. For 60 years I have kept you safe. I watched your father's ships come in. I watched your grain arrive. I watched you sleep while I stood in the cold." You step closer to the leader. He steps back involuntarily. "You want to smash the mirror?" you ask. "Go ahead, break it. And the next time a storm comes, when the dark falls, you tell the widows that their husbands died because you wanted to break a piece of bronze." The mob shifts. The anger is losing its focus. They expected soldiers. They expected resistance. They did not expect a grandfather shaming them. "The fire stays," you say, "the stone stays. If you want to pray, pray, but do not touch the light." You stare at them. You hold the gaze of the leader. It is a battle of wills, the fanaticism of the new age against the stubborn utility of the old. The leader lowers his hammer. He spits on the ground. "Leave the old fool," he mutters. "The fire is nothing, the stone is dead." He turns. The mob turns. They flow away like a retreating tide, looking for an easier target, a temple that fights back. You watch them go. You lean against the doorframe. Your legs give out. Heron catches you. "You stopped them," he whispers. "You stopped the tide." "I'm tired," you say. "Take me up. The fire needs oil." You never go down again. The exertion of that night broke something in you. You spend your days on the cot in the lantern room watching Heron work. You are fading. You are becoming transparent. One night a year later you are lying awake. The wind is howling, a winter storm. The light is cutting through the rain. You look at the fire. It is beautiful. It is the only truth. You call Heron. "The ring," you say, "in my satchel." He brings it, the gold ring of Hadrian. "Take it," you say. "Sell it, buy better oil, just once, by the first pressing." "Sir, do it for the light." He takes the ring, he weeps. You close your eyes, you are climbing the stairs, up, up, up. But the stairs are not stone anymore. They are made of light. Andreas is at the top, Milo's there. "Shift change," you whisper, and you are gone. The tower stands. Heron sells the ring, he buys the oil. For 1 month the Pharos burns with a brilliance not seen in a century. The sailors marvel at it. They say the old man must be stoking the fire himself. But the decline is inevitable. Centuries roll by. The empire falls, the Arabs come, the city changes its name, its language, its god. The tower is neglected. The mirror is stolen, melted down for coins or weapons. The fire is allowed to go out. The top half of the tower collapses in another earthquake, tumbling into the sea. It becomes a ruin, a fortress, a quarry, but the memory remains. The story moves now, not to a person, but to the stone itself. Part 8. The ruin and the memory. You are the stone. You were cut from the quarry of Tura, white and pristine, thousands of years ago. You were hauled across the water, shaped by the chisels, lifted by cranes. You were part of the greatest structure on earth. You felt the fire. You felt the footsteps of 1,000 keepers. Andreas, Sostrates, Heron. You felt their sweat, their hope, their fear. Now you are at the bottom of the sea. You lie in the silt of the harbour. Fish swim through the gap where the iron staple used to be. Barnacles cover your white surface. You are forgotten. But you remember. You remember the night of the bird. You remember the pirate ship. You remember the emperor. You remember the old man who stood against the mob. Above you the water changes. The wooden hulls of the galleys rot and are replaced by steel. The oars are replaced by propellers. The silence of the sail is replaced by the thrum of engines. The city above grows. Modern Alexandria. Noisy, bright, electric. They do not need fire anymore. They have radar, GPS, electric beacons. But they still look for you. Divers come. Men in rubber suits with tanks of air. They swim down, they brush the silt away, they touch you with gloved hands. They measure you, they photograph you. The pharaohs, they whisper into their comms, we found it. They bring you up. Chains wrap around you. Cranes lift you. You break the surface of the water for the first time in 1,000 years. The sun hits you. It is the same sun, the hot Egyptian sun. They place you in a museum. Air conditioning hums. Tourists walk by, licking ice cream, looking at you. A block from the lighthouse, the placard reads. They look at you and see a rock. But you know, you are not just a rock. You are the witness. You are the vessel of the light. You still hold the heat of the fire deep inside your crystal lattice. You still hold the vibration of the storm. And late at night, when the museum is dark and the tourists are gone, if you listen very closely, you can still hear it. Rub, wipe, polish. The rhythm of the keeper, the heartbeat of the light. It never truly goes out. As long as the story is told, the fire burns.